and welcome to the 150th episode of the Computer Game Show. My name is Sean Bell. I'm joined by Matthew Murray.
Hello.
And James Farley.
Hi.
That was...
No, I was
you sound absolutely thrilled.
No, it was just Matt doing that woo. I hate woos. Like, it was.
Yeah.
I was finding them a
fair
bit annoying.
enough.
It's the 150th episode. It's party time over here. We've got streamers, we've got poppers, we've got cake. No, just...
When you say we've got poppers?
Yeah,
I'm doing poppers right now, yeah.
Okay.
There's no way to get through the podcast.
I was going to say, I'm quite ill, and Matt wants to watch Game of Thrones, and Farley's just tired. So I guess we'll get a move on, shall we? We always say, it's going to be a short one. It's going to be a short one, and then it ends up being 2.5 hours. But
yeah, it's the episodes
sure
we have nothing to talk about, no news, no games. We still drag it out, but we'll see.
If there's anything about next gen consoles, we'll get about half an hour out of that.
Easy.
You see, I really listened back to what we did, but last week I did listen back to some of it because I thought it was quite good. And I got to the bit where we were like, Sean, you just said, James, we're 50 minutes in. Maybe move on to the second news story. You know, that was good. Although, yeah, we'll be in serious trouble if that's the case because there's a lot of news this week. But we'll come to that.
Thank God. Right, just quickly, before we start properly, if you want to support the show, we stream quite a lot, 3 times a week. In fact, every Friday, James streams Deadly Premonition for an hour, although I'm pretty sure he's fucking sick of it by this point.
Hour and a half most weeks, and it's I can't. This week I nearly lost it because it was just so awful.
Yeah, you sound like you're genuinely about to quit.
Yeah, I got it was going that way because it was just.
So, I think you're only two-thirds of the way through, aren't you?
No, it's that's not the case.
Is that not the case? Okay.
No, you see, the thing is, right, since I did Dark Calls, I always feel bad if I look anything up, to find out, right? So I looked up...
You didn't when you did Dark Calls.
Yeah,
you did
that willy-nilly.
I didn't look anything up. But anyway, so this time I just wanted to see how many chapters there were, and it turns out there are 6, but it's fine because the earlier ones, there's 6 with there's a chapter with about 7 episodes inside each one, whereas for the last ones I'm only on chapter 4, but the chapters 5 and 6 have only got 1 episode in each, so it's actually not that long.
Aren't you playing the director's cut?
Okay.
Isn't there 7? Or you're not
maybe 7, I don't know. But either way, I'm hoping to be done this coming week. Is what I'm hoping. Yeah,
exciting.
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, so I can move on to something I actually want to play.
Do you know what you want to play?
Well, I was thinking of playing what's it called, Nomad Soul or something like that. You know, that'd be quite.
But that's another David Cage game.
I know. Well, just because
it's the most inaccessible one as well.
Yeah, that's why I thought it could be interesting. Either that or the other game I was thinking of playing is Alien Isolation. Because I really want to play that because I like the series a lot and I've heard it's great.
You should do that. That
and it's on Game Pass as well.
Another David Cage game that you'll hate.
Yeah.
You got an opportunity to play whatever you want, and
maybe I'll do a poll.
Your first option is a David Cage game.
Well, maybe I'll do a poll and see what people think. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, streams. Every Sunday at 8:30, Matt streams Bloodborne, and then every Tuesday at 9 p.m, I stream an indie game. Although I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep getting away with that because I'm having too much fun doing it. Which apparently is not the point.
Yeah, especially that incredible indie game from last Tuesday, Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah, that was good. That was look. It was I did the little wheel thing, the Wheel of Fortune.
That's been the best indie game you played in ages. That weird spinning wheel. Which game will I play? I was loving that when you got that out.
Yeah, and to be fair, I didn't actually play Forza Horizon 4 because it turns out if I'm streaming at the same time, it doesn't really work.
No,
it couldn't get past the loading screen.
Even the cutscenes were choppy.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a non-starter. But if you want to support us, you can subscribe to us on Twitch. But also, if you have Amazon Prime, if you're like me and you sort of, slag off capitalism all the time, but you still have an Amazon Prime account, you also have Twitch Prime, which means you can give us a free sub. I mean, you could give it to someone else if you wanted, but there's no one better than us, so don't do that. Give it to us, and it costs you absolutely nothing and gives us a bit of cash, which we really appreciate. It does actually help quite a lot. And yeah, I think I say every week, it's always astonishes me when people resub, because you have to resub every month, which is a pain in the arse, but people actually do it and have been doing it for a long time. And
19 or 20 months, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's always really nice to see. So really appreciate it. Right, feedback, I guess.
Let's get into feedback at Wrecked Reese starts off. I love it when James starts to go into detail on China. Some great little stories and factoids in the last episode. I feel like I'm getting some free knowledge with my video game waffle. And he seems to get genuinely passionate about what he talks about. Don't stop. I just wanted to put that in there. Like, James, do you think you're the most passionate when you talk about China?
It's possibly. I mean, it's part of my job and everything, so it's like something I've studied for a long time. So it's like it's easy to get into that mode because it's like you're sort of explaining it to people a lot, like with work and everything. But I don't know. It's also something that I just find genuinely fascinating all the time. It's every day there's a new story. Every day something weird happens. It's brilliant. It's interesting.
Yeah, I really want to talk to you off the pod about the whole Huawei 5G thing, but we haven't got all night.
Also, Huawei. It's Huawei. It's it's not your fault. Every single time I hear them pronounce stuff on the BBC, I want to cry because it's just.
So I said Huawei, but no, Hannah, I said Huawei. What did I say?
Well, because most people say Huawei, right?
Yeah, they say that. That's not right.
Rather than Huawei.
Yeah. I was saying Huawei, but whatever. Okay, it's. Let's move on to the next thing. SMW, I used to do on Twitter. We talked about Xbox All Digital Edition last week. Regarding the Xbox SAD price, I'm pretty sure it's just Microsoft being unable to say, we know all the shops will say it less than that. If Amazon can sell the standard one for sub 200 quid, they will be able to drop 200 quid. They will be able to drop the £200 RRP of the new one too, I'd imagine.
So whilst that's true, that doesn't make any sense though. Like, why bother? I know that's probably what.
No, because the RRP of like the current Xbox One S is obviously a lot more than they're currently selling it for. Mm-hmm. So it would make sense that they would also have a similar reduction for the SAD version, would they not?
But why bother?
Because I suppose like the way it works is so Microsoft set that RRP, but then obviously they've also set what they're going to charge retailers to actually buy it off Microsoft for. And then it's up to the shops if they want to lose some of their cut, I suppose. So that £200 RRP, that's Microsoft assuming the shops want like a certain percentage for themselves.
Yeah.
And then if the shops want to reduce that, that's their problem. So yeah, maybe we'll see, I guess.
Maybe. Have any of you seen anything on Twitter of anyone that's getting excited to buy one of these things?
No, I've not even seen any mention of it.
No.
It's as popular as Anthem.
We'll get on to
James. James, we've got some feedback about our PS5 chat. This is Jazdeep Sahota. I hope I pronounced your surname correctly there. Had a couple of clarifications about your PS5 chat in the last episode. Sean's suggestion that you could just put an SSD in your PS4 and get fast storage speeds today is only partially true. Yes, swapping an SSD will give you appreciably faster load times, but it won't be a night and day difference. The PS4 is bandwidth limited when it comes to storage devices, meaning your superfast SSD will be gimped by the console's slow SATA interface. Put that new drive in a PC and it will seem positively blazing by comparison. The other point was concerning exciting but underplayed CPU specs. On the face of it, they don't seem that interesting. PS4's 8-core CPU being replaced by another 8-core CPU. Big deal, right? Well, actually, it's a massive deal. The PS4 CPU was outdated even at launch, but it's practically ancient now. We're talking a roughly 2012-year mobile part that wasn't even a big step up from the PS3. It's frankly amazing what developers have been able to do with such a dinky architecture. The move to AMD Ryzen in PS5 will be a sizable leap in horsepower, jumping multiple generations of chip and providing 8 full CPU cores that are in line with modern PC parts. And then it goes on, the bounty of computational power will give a console room to breathe, alleviating PS4's biggest limitation. It's essentially taken off the handbrake, allowing developers to target features that weren't possible before. It's all about simulation, packed cities with convincing AI behaviours, dynamic environments with advanced physics, next-level play animations, 8, 9, even 10-player online co-op, or even just the option for a smooth 60 FPS. Trust me, a modern CPU and fast storage is going to be a huge, big step forward from next-gen games. Now, how those advanced games are made ethically is another matter, but the tech will be there. I thought that was really interesting and I wanted to include it, but like every time we get a new generation, there was like, okay, finally, now this is the generation where, where we can do the maximum resolution and things, and actually we can concentrate on the other things like amazing AI and this, that, and other. But that's not the case because every generation they push the graphics a bit further, and we're still always catching up. Like, we're never free. Like, brilliant, we can do 4K 60, no problem. Anyone could do it. Now we can use the rest of it for all the complicated stuff. I must be like 3 or 4 generations. So I've heard, look, it's all about the AI in this generation. It really is all about the AI. The graphics are as good as not as good. People saying the graphics are incredible. We can leave that basically to run in the background.
It's like people forget that like so like 60 FPS is a good thing, and I think most people agree they can see the difference now. I know there used to be a lot of people like couldn't tell the difference between 30 or 60 or whatever, but like people forget that if a game isn't running at 60 frames a second, like obviously like optimization is a thing, but by and large that's a decision that's been made. If a game's not running at 60 frames, the developers have just preferred to make it look better than have it run at 60 frames, which is fine. But as you say, this promise that like, but next gen it's all going to be 60 frames. It's like, no, only if the games look the same as they do now. Because there's the arms race for like things to look better as well as run faster. Looking better just wins out most of the time.
Definitely, yeah. Even now, like loads of games aren't 1080p, and then there's also now loads of games which aren't 4K. They're something that's like 900p or something crazy because they want to add extra effects, and it's But maybe next generation will be different.
I do remember, what you said here about before the PS4 era, like before that Xbox One came out, people moaning about the stuff that was in those machines, though, and like saying that they were really outdated before they came out. I remember that because that was.
I'm totally sure that's valid, and the stuff about the SSD is interesting as well. I'll always be curious, but I don't know. I mean,
there was all that thing, wasn't there? Like where they said, it is like just like mobile hardware or whatever they put in, laptop hardware or whatever they put in like these boxes, and then that was the thing with Kinect, wasn't it? Where they were like, and Microsoft have hobbled that even further by including Kinect, which is like taking up even more power off of these. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what it's going to be like. But even if like this hardware is in line with modern PCs, again, they'll come out in 18 months or whatever it is. So it'll already be, a little bit older at that point. And then, 2 to 4 years until maybe like the next big Naughty Dog game and this, that, and the other. And it's still going to go well until we really see the potential. But it's exciting. And as you said, like this time, when we're comparing where we are about a new generation compared to the last one, where, as you said, mobile parts, then this is quite an exciting upgrade, really. Athene Allen tweets in, so you were mentioning about Skyrim last week, Sean, you must have done.
Yeah.
Sean saying he didn't enjoy Skyrim as a rogue is interesting. It's mimetic within Elder Scrolls fans that Sneaky Archer is completely overpowered in Skyrim.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that's why I didn't enjoy it, because I felt like, because playing it as a Sneaky Archer, I didn't really learn like how to do combat properly, and my character wasn't really built for it. So my only option was to sneak around constantly and shoot everyone with arrows while I was in stealth, which just made all the dungeon it made everything easy. It just took fucking ages to clear a dungeon. That was my issue with it.
And she says, as someone who also bounced off Skyrim despite being a huge Oblivion fan, she's gone back to it on Switch and got right into it. Perfect console for that game.
I can see that. To be fair, I didn't enjoy Skyrim as much as Oblivion, but I can totally imagine having a handheld version.
I really want to try
would be amazing.
Skyrim on PSVR. Have you got that, James?
I did have, and it was very impressive. But then also it did make me feel a bit sick.
Really?
The movement made me feel a bit sick.
Yeah, I was going to say, how's it handle movement?
Well, you can either do teleporting, which I just find I don't like that because it just feels like you're not really sort of playing the game.
I've never been a fan of that. It just really takes you out of the experience.
Yeah, but then also it does have, you can use stick for movement as well, and I remember seeing how I could handle that by switching on, because you can do it so that you turn by increments, like a certain amount each time, and that makes it less making you feel like you're going to be sick. But you can also switch that off and just have it so it moves with smooth movement. And I remember playing for about an hour doing that and feeling intensely ill afterwards. It was it wasn't that great.
Yeah. It's so funny how this a slight change in control system can totally screw you up. Because when I was playing Farpoint with the gun, after an hour or two, I can then have full 360 movement. So it's basically I was playing an FPS. I was circle strafing, and it was It was amazing. Maybe it was because I had that the physical thing was like grounding me or whatever. But other games, I've turned my head one way, moved the other way, and my whole body's just felt like, oh! Not good at all. James Carter at Carter, J. He actually had a second-hand Soda Stream growing up. No Sky TV though. I'm not sure where that places him.
That's okay. I think that's just like upper working class, maybe.
Second-hand Soda Stream. Yeah. I mean, I've told you we got one at work. So again,
have you?
I mean, if this was the 90s, I'd be like, oh my god, work's so rich. They've got a Soda Stream. That's like all my work is. Yeah. Oh yeah. So last week, I think, or maybe the week before, we were mentioning, or you might be mentioning it, Sean, about playing like Xbox games on PC and wondering where you can find which ones you've got.
Oh yeah.
Darren Gargett tweeted, it's not easy to find because it's a Windows 10 store, but you can view a list of everything your Microsoft account has purchased and whether you can play it or not on the PC. So
okay, but does that include?
What about Game Pass though?
But they've already said Game Pass is not properly on PC and it will be coming in the next few months. They've already said that.
So if I go on my library... Oh, yeah, Xbox... Hang on. Oh, right. Yeah, no, that doesn't help at all. So it's got an Xbox Game Pass bit, but it just lists everything. Oh, no, I see. And then it's got an install button for the stuff that you can play on PC. All right, fine. That works. Oh, I can play Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Woo.
Nice.
And Operencia the Stolen Son. What's that?
I've no... Hang on, isn't that a recent one?
I've no idea.
No, okay, I'm saying. You can also play Minesweeper and Solitaire, I imagine.
Hey!
Has it got Spider Solitaire?
Can't wait.
Well, it's PC, must do, right? Must do. Anyway, that's it for follow-up and feedback. If you want to leave us any feedback yourself, it's at ComputerGamePod on Twitter, or you can email podcast at computergameshow.com. That's the one.
Right, so James, as I've mentioned, I'm quite ill. Are you familiar with In the Night Garden, yeah?
Yeah.
Do your kids still watch it? They're a bit old now.
Yeah, not anymore, no. My daughter used to be terrified of it, though. It's
Well, it's a pretty terrifying show, isn't it? Because it's essentially about Iggle Piggle, the sailor, in his boat, basically accepting death.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then he lies down in his boat, turns the light off. Oh, no, he lights the light, takes the sail down, that's it. So he's just drifting around with no navigational equipment. And then basically the entire episode of, him frolicking around in the night garden is just him having a mad fever dream while he dies in his boat.
Yeah, she used to cry every single time at the title sequence.
Yeah, it's horrible. So what I want is, as I say, quite ill. So I want to feel like I'm dying in a boat with no navigational aids or method of propulsion. And the news is this beautiful dream that I'm having as I drift off.
Okay. So I'm going to provide you with a beautiful dream.
Yes, please.
Okay. Microsoft are excluding Minecraft creator from anniversary event over comments and opinions.
Good. Comments and opinions. That's it.
So this happened just before we were about to record. I just saw this.
Breaking news.
So they're having, Microsoft are having their 10th anniversary celebrations, for Minecraft, and they're not inviting Notch to these because they said that his comments and opinions were too toxic for him to be associated. So that's that. He's not going to be there.
Yeah, I mean
do you think that's
what happens
fair?
when you're he's a hateful bigot. Yeah. He's fucking awful. It's not like, I used to, I think I've said this before, but in the early days, he'd make the occasional, slightly insensitive comment, and it was easy to sort of write off as well, you know what, if any of us had that much exposure, we'd probably embarrass ourselves occasionally. And then he just went, into, full turbo. He's just saying horrible things all the time. It's just deeply unpleasant. It's not, it's not he just has different political opinions. No, he's just horrible. He's just a horrible man.
His views are definitely bigoted. I mean, no, you're defending him. I don't really have an opinion either one or another, but I'm just trying to think, I don't know.
I don't think he's banned. I think he's just not invited. Can he still?
Yeah, he can still turn up. He should definitely turn up then. Or he should go in cosplay, dressed as what they call a creeper, and then just towards the end, like, oh, it's me. Check out this horrible big interview I've got.
Okay, Matt. Okay, so
what's wrong with that?
just don't know where that was going. That was like one of Sean's news stories, but with less focus. It was interesting. Anyway, next story. Days Gone is the biggest physical release of the year so far. So it's had the biggest physical launch of the sales in the UK, and it beat Resident Evil 2, Far Cry, and The Division 2. But the numbers are still way below God of War and Spider-Man, so that's great, I guess. I mean, this is interesting because obviously the reviews for this came out and it's not great, right? Yeah.
It was like sort of sixes across the board.
It's mostly been, it's been sort of like, this is just really average and is just, lots of bugs and all that kind of thing as well.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll talk about it more later, but but basically it's not a bad game, it's just unremarkable, basically.
It's just, it's Crackdown 3, basically, is what it is. I mean, it's the same sort of thing, where it's like, it's come out and everyone's like, it's all right, but it's not like amazing or anything. But unfortunately, this isn't on Game Pass. If it was on Game Pass, everyone would be saying that this is great, this is so good, and all that kind of thing, and then never. Well,
this is because this is what interests me is like, so obviously it's a single player game. It's okay going by the reviews. So obviously the fact this is we're only measuring physical sales here, not digital ones. Do you not think maybe this is skewed significantly by people just being like, well, I'll have a punt on it,
definitely
spend the weekend on it, and then trade it in.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. Like online game Division 2 selling, this primarily offline game selling way more physically than like digital online game Division 2. Like obviously, a lot of people give buying that digitally because they want it there on a dashboard, ready to go without having to like put the disc in. And like this could be like a lot of people might. Well, may have hoped that they could just like smash this on a weekend and sell it, but apparently it's like a 60-hour game, so they're not going to be doing that. And I mean, the fact it's going to come under like God of War and Spider-Man, I'm not surprised because they were like two of the biggest sellers of the year, or maybe of all time on PS4. So no surprise there. But it's surprised that it sold more than Resident Evil 2.
I was going to say it surprised me that it sold more than Mortal Kombat 11 because that usually does pretty fucking well.
Yeah, but more than Mortal Kombat, more than Far Cry New Dawn, I feel like that sort of came and went. But Resident Evil 2, like that's a primarily single player game that did crazy sales as far as I'm aware and got amazing review scores. So it's crazy that it beat that, but
isn't it also because there isn't much coming out at the moment? Is there really? It's kind of, for me at the moment it feels quite quiet. Like there's not anything like really massive. I mean, we had Sekiro before, and then there hasn't really been anything since then that's like been a big deal.
I mean, there's tons of like, if you go near any branch of game, there's like tons of promotional stuff out for Days Gone. It was the same as with like Anthem, and you walk past the shop, and it's like, yeah, do you know what? If I, didn't listen to people who knew what they were talking about, I would be quite easily convinced that this game's going to be fucking brilliant. So, when you think like, well, why would they spend all that money on marketing it if it was shit?
Well, I guess they just already had the marketing and stuff ready to go, and like, well, we might as well just put it out there now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like the reviews were middling, and now it's done this. So I wonder what that means for a potential sequel or anything else. I mean,
do you see? I think it was that Hard Drive News place did a thing that was like, oh yeah, September's PS Plus game announced. Days Gone. But yeah,
I mean, UK charts, I'll never know what to believe of those things anymore because obviously GTA is there permanently, and other games which you think are so well don't hit it, and it's just. Also, I'd love to know what it actually takes to get to number one. Obviously, this is quite a competitive week with Mortal Kombat 11, but. Yeah, I love on a week without like another big title. I bet it wouldn't take an awful lot just to get to number one, but yeah,
probably right. Well, when you consider the number like 3 and 4 of FIFA 19 and Red Dead 2, not that those don't deserve to be there, but they're not new.
No,
and then number 6, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So yeah, I imagine there's not a lot in it beyond 1 and 2. So yeah,
nice one.
Okay. Speaking of games that are, struggling to find a way.
Here we go.
Just say shit. Just say games that are shit, James.
Okay. BioWare are delaying Anthem features.
If you've got Anthem being slagged off in a news story on your bingo card, tick now or drink now.
How is this slagging it off, Matt? This is just telling the truth about what's happened with this game. I mean, we've got here, so BioWare are delaying their, in inverted commas, roadmap for Anthem, including this, they did this Cataclysm event thing, which is supposed to be their end game stuff. And they're delaying all of that. And instead, they said they're going to focus on fixing bugs. So these are the features that have been delayed. So guilds, leaderboards, mastery system, and legendary missions, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm really surprised that it didn't launch with stuff like leaderboards and guilds and stuff, because I thought that would be the whole point of this sort of game, right?
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, let's be clear here. Okay, none of us really liked Anthem, and we sort of give it a bit of a kick in every week, which is maybe a little bit mean-spirited. But to be clear, this is so shit for the few people who are actually really enjoying it. Because they've been waiting for this stuff, and the fact that they've just gone, nah, not yet. The original roadmap's just out the window now, which, suggests, it depends what this means, doesn't it, right? It could mean that actually they've just absolutely shat it and they think the game's got no future, or they are properly going back to the drawing board. And I hope it's the latter. This could be what the game needs.
I would imagine it's the latter. I mean, all the plans and this roadmap and stuff with all the stuff. One, the sales and the betas, and then all the reports and stuff, but unhappiness at the studio. They must just be what even is this game? None of us even know, or any vision that anyone might have had has just been all the confidence knocked out of their sales. It must be terrible at the studio at the moment. And now let's just delay this. There's no point in putting out more stuff, which might be buggy or not good enough, and people rip into us a bit more. Let's almost take a step back, start again. So it'd be interesting to see what does come out when it does. Because it feels like they've really got to start again, which is crazy considering they've worked in this game, had crazy crunch for so long, and now game's out, it's been ripped apart. Every element of this game and the studio's been ripped apart. Let's have to start again. It must be terrible to have to put some of this stuff out now with no confidence.
Which is really unfair as well, because obviously, 99% of the people who work there, this isn't their fault.
God, no.
It's been pretty clear that this is just a leadership problem. So many people worked really fucking hard on this, and in a lot of ways it shows. It's just a fucking shame.
I'll tell you what, I reckon that this game will not exist within a year. I don't think it's going to be around
but define exist. I mean, surely the end game, when you say it's not going to exist, that what you mean is they're going to turn servers off. And when games are shit, that can take 3 years. So nothing. This game is not going to be dead in a year. It will still be rolling on.
It depends on what sort of user base they've got. If they've got loads of people playing
we'll never know that. They'll never say our gameplay numbers are 0. So it won't be dead.
No, but they may just eventually just slowly, quietly close it, and that'll be it. And I think we're going to hear less and less and less about this game as it goes on. I think it's just going to fade away.
But that's really going to affect your news section, isn't it?
It is.
What we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm sure EA will mess up in some other way.
I mean, as I say, it's a very specific example, but Final Fantasy 14 was really shit and it completely tanked, and they literally did an in-game event where it was an actual world-ending apocalypse happened, and then they closed the game down and then worked on it for a year or two and then relaunched it, and that's a canon in-game story event that happened. The apocalypse happened and now it's back. So stranger things have happened, No,
but there's a big difference with that, though, isn't it? Because that's Final Fantasy, which already had a massive buy-in of Final Fantasy fans.
True,
of which
that's
there
always
are thousands and thousands of them. Whereas this, there is no buy-in, to begin with, of people that are going to want to do it. So I don't know. I'd be very interested to see how many people are still actually playing this game, because I bet it's not a huge number.
Yeah, I doubt it's a huge number, but there's no way this thing is getting killed within a year. No way. I mean,
we'll see.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I guess we can look at other things like Rainbow Six, and that had a really tough first 12 months. And other games like say Sea of Thieves, but it's just a case of whether EA are actually going to want to stick with it, like Ubisoft do.
I mean, this is it. Like you say, so all the Ubisoft examples and Sea of Thieves, etc. If EA do kill it, that just shows how phenomenally blinkered they are. They're not seeing that actually it does work if you stick with these things and try and fix them.
Destiny,
it does pay off. Yeah, exactly.
Years of rebuilding and it doesn't end. It's constantly being rebuilt.
again, it's the publisher though, isn't it, as to whether they have the staying power, and like EA don't ever seem to show that they do have that. I mean, if they've got like Apex Legends making a load of money or whatever, they're just thinking, why are we putting money into this when it's like not, it's not going anywher. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, there's also the question always of like, is BioWare going to survive? Like into the with all this, it's if there's been all these like the other stuff about the crunch and people that are like, unhappy with that. It's it's terrible. The whole thing is just it's really terrible.
I mean, what I can see is actually, a BioWare will do a Bungie and they'll sort of buy themselves out and go independent.
Really?
Yeah, I can see if I can't see like BioWare getting shut down. They've got too much history. The thing is with that is that, I mean, Bungie did that because they were like, Destiny has been generally a success, right? Like, generally it's been, and it's made the money and all that kind of thing. They're in a position to be able to do that. BioWare don't seem to be in that position at the moment. They've had two like not that great games come out and everything, and I don't know. But we don't know how much of that is like maybe like pushing from EA. We don't know if that's all decisions made by them. We don't know. Like obviously, BioWare have had an incredible history and done some amazing games. The last couple haven't been so good. Maybe that's pressures elsewhere in being part of EA. Maybe it isn't. Who knows? But I would say like I'm much more confident that we'll see BioWare saying that they're buying themselves out of EA or they're splitting off or this and that, but then just getting killed.
There's no way that will happen. I would have a bet with you, like for real money, that would never happen because it just won't. Like EA don't allow that sort of thing to happen. They kill companies. That's what they do. They shut them down if they don't want them anymore. They don't like just let them escape. It's I don't know. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. But we'll see. Anyway, so we've got that. Then the next thing we've got is we're going back again to the Epic Games Store because we've talked enough about that, obviously. But apparently, what's happening now is that Tim Sweeney has been tweeting about the Epic Games Store and saying that he would stop like buying exclusives on one condition, and that's if Steam changes its revenue share to 88% for developers. And then he said with no strings. And what he means by no strings is that they'd have to also allow for like interoperability between the different stores. Mm-hmm. So like if you buy stuff on one store, it'll work on the other one as well. Messaging will work between them and all that kind of thing. And he even said that Epic will put their own games on the Steam store if this happened. That they'd sort of not abandon the Epic Games Store, but they'd sort of play with the others as well. And I mean, do you want to hear the quote? Because it's quite interesting.
Please do. Yeah.
He said, "Such a move will be a glorious moment in the history of PC gaming and would have a sweeping impact on other platforms for generations to come." I mean, that's some incredible hyperbole.
It is. I mean, if this did happen, that would be good because as we've talked about, the nature of the competition stuff hasn't been. It's not been too consumer friendly, whereas this. If this did happen and it's like, look, every store's getting the same deal, all developers are getting the same deal on every store, like just completely flatten it, and then it is purely like, well, which shop do you like the best? Like which one do you get the best experience from? And that's when you would get some meaningful competition between them, in that they just try to offer a better experience rather than just like stealing games off each other. So it'll be really interesting.
I mean, he's putting us out there, knowing full well that Epic only look good by saying, "Look, we're holding a hand out. We want to do this." Now it's Steam aren't playing ball because we're saying we'll do this. We're trying to make it better for developers, for consumers. Look at Steam in the corner, just not playing ball. Yeah, that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, it is probably a bluff, but it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see Steam doing it. I mean, if Steam aren't going to make any changes until it's actually properly hurting them in the back pocket, and it probably isn't right now. If anything, any mention of it, any exclusive, if you read any comments on a YouTube video or wherever, they're all like anti-Epic. And until like that tide turns and actually people think actually it's Steam who are aren't doing what we want, then maybe there'll be a change. But until then, Steam aren't going to make any changes. I wouldn't see.
Do you think this is also because like Epic, as far as I understand, I mean I've never used it, but it doesn't have the same sort of functionality as the Steam store. Like,
it's massively drastically like lacking in features compared to Steam.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Next one is that Respawn have delayed Titanfall plans. So apparently there was going to be another Titanfall project for the end of this year, and that it wasn't going to be Titanfall 3, but it was going to be something in the Titanfall universe. But that has now been put completely on hold because they want to focus solely on Apex Legends, but also Star Wars Jedi Knights, the Fallen Order.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other major thing though is they've also said that with Apex Legends they want to focus on sort of seasonal updates rather than putting content out like constantly, as Epic have done with Fortnite. And they've said that the reason for this is because they want to avoid the crunch. So there was that story that came out. It was last week, wasn't it? That was about at Epic how it's kind of insane now because they're just constantly in crunch. Because I mean that's got to be one of a really negative consequence potentially of the live services thing, where you've got like, if they're just constantly having to churn out new content all the time.
Definitely, yeah.
But then it's making so much...
rewritten the rulebook in terms of what a live service game is and can do. It's constantly changing, constantly bringing, giving new things. Seasons are like 6 to 8 weeks long, and there's always new stuff coming. So they've changed the game and made it a totally new thing. But with that comes this permanent
at what price?
But surely, the money they're making on it, though, there must be ways to alleviate this. Like, I know it's not always as simple as just hiring a shitload of people, but I don't know. I feel like there must be a way of resolving it.
You see, also, I mean, the other thing that's interesting about this, that from this article, where it was talking about how they've said that the Apex Legends approach, although maybe this looks like it's like more ethical, this kind of thing, which is probably which is better, but it has had an impact. Some people have said on the game, because that the number of people playing the game has like dropped like quite massively.
Yeah,
it's like, because so currently it's 14th on Twitch and it's down to like 20,000 viewers on average, and it was like 357,000 like in February,
right?
And now it's like, I mean, that's quite a massive kind of drop.
Yeah, and a lot of the big streamers are basically like Shroud and stuff, basically saying that there's not enough updates and things take too long. And again, like with Fortnite, there are updates all the time. Every week there was something new, like a nerf or buff or whatever, or new content, new skins. These, Apex Legends might be doing it a little bit differently, maybe, as you say, a bit more ethically, but it's just, I don't know. If people want changes, that is arguably what it might need to survive or do really well, but there comes a cost, as you say.
It's like, it's like at the cost of like, I mean, eventually, surely this is just going to burn them out. Like if they're just constantly creating new stuff like this.
But if they could employ more people to cover that rather than,
but they're already choosing not to.
Yeah.
So that's a business decision that's been made.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you've also got the same situation, because one of the other stories here was that there's been like former developers have been talking about severe crunch at NetherRealm, who are making like the Mortal Kombat stuff. So they said, I mean, they've got these like former employees and also contract workers who said they were on like 80 to 100-hour weeks. And I mean, that's insane. And this happened like during Mortal Kombat like 9, 10, and also the Injustice like fighting games. And they said most people were working like, well, the people they talked to were working like 10 a.m. until like midnight most days, and like doing 90 to 100-hour weeks. I mean, there does need to be unionisation, doesn't there? Like this is the only way this is going to get fixed.
It's not sustainable. It can't be. Like sure. I mean, I know like video games do very well out of the fact that like people really love them growing up and then really want to get into game development to the point that they will put up with shitty paying conditions and stuff. But surely, like the stink around it is just going to get too hard to ignore after a while.
The trouble is, someone might say, "I'm not going to do that," and there's always someone waiting.
Yeah, there's always someone else who is willing.
Place.
Yeah. And like people do exist who genuinely thrive on crunch. Like that is a thing. But by and large, it's just not good for anyone. You don't get the best work out of people by making them work stupid hours. It's just not like it's counterproductive.
Yeah, it's not sustainable at all.
But there's also the pressure though that this puts on people, because there's always this argument where people say it's it's okay, it's people's choice to do this, but in many cases it's not really, because you're always worried somebody else is going to take your job, or if you take time off it will cause problems. I mean, I don't want to get back into China again, but there's like a big thing going on with this at the moment there, where you've got like these massive companies like Alibaba and like Jack Ma, who was like running this. He's like the guy who like runs Alibaba, which is like it's a huge company, and he's promoted this idea of what they call like 996, and it's like basically it means you work 9 to 9 every day for 6 days a week. And that this is like the ideal worker, should be working like this, and it's like that's insane. And don't take any time off. If you take any time off, then we don't need you anymore. Things like that. It's it's terrible.
Because I used to get it when I used to work in a restaurant, and then moved up to like doing admin stuff, but like for the same company in the same building, and like so then. I would go from doing like restaurant shit. Like it was a restaurant that was only open during the day, but still like, weird shifts and stuff. And then when I was in the office, I'd only work 8 till 4 every day. And every time I would come down to leave the building at 4 o'clock every day, even that like I'd done a full day's work, all the people who were actually working in the restaurant were like rolling their eyes, like, you're off for the day, are you? Because I wasn't being like, shit. Like everyone else is still working, I should probably carry on because then they can all get home a bit earlier. There was like this weird pressure, and when you think like, yeah, it would be totally easy to just be like, well, it's 5 o'clock, I should go home, but everyone else is still working really hard. Like, am I a dick if I go now?
Yeah,
it'd be so easy to fall into that.
Yeah, I've had that loads. Like working in agencies. I mean, definitely not my current place, but previous places I've worked, I did like there's a 6 week period where I basically was starting to work at like 4 a.m. And like finishing at 7 o'clock at night. I was working weekends, but that was only like 6 weeks, and that fucked me up for ages. So I can't imagine having to do it. And I wasn't doing it with a gun pointed to my head. It just needed to be done. But I can't imagine doing that for like months and months on end and years on end. And
there's so much research that because most research is now saying that actually a 4-day week is probably better for you and doesn't really cost you much in terms of productivity. Like because actually most people struggle to focus for 40 hours a week. So doing those extra hours rarely gets you like better work anyway. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, crunch is just part of the video games industry. Like, you obviously see loads of these articles about crunch, people might be shocked, but people are saying, "Wow, it's like there's a big trend around crunch at the moment." No, like crunch has always been part of it, and with his live service games, it's just getting worse.
Maybe
crunch
it is,
part
but it doesn't
of many
mean it has
different
to be.
like creative industries. I think that's just the nature of these sort of industries. It's just really, it seems really, really rather bad in video games, but in terms of others,
I think it's particularly bad. Maybe, I don't know because I don't know about any other industries or video games either. But I'd imagine that in other industries you do have like unions and stuff as well, which British protect workers from stuff like this. And it's the fact that they don't exist. There needs to be something done about that because it's ridiculous. There needs to be some sort of like creative, some to try and deal with this. Okay, next story. I've got two. Quick ones. I've got Persona 5S is coming out. This is the one that people talked about where people thought this was going to be just like a Switch version of Persona 5.
The S down to Switch, doesn't it? It's obvious.
Yeah, it turns out it doesn't. Instead, it's a Warriors game from Koei Tecmo instead. And so it's another one of those, like similar to the Zelda one that came out. And there was also, wasn't there also... What's that game that Fire Emblem? That's it. Yeah, there's a Fire Emblem one like recently, so it's another one of those, but with Persona characters. I've no interest in this.
You like sorts of games.
I was going to say this is probably the first Persona game I'm actually interested in. So. No, I never got the Fire Emblem one. I probably should. I really like the Warriors games, but I've no investment in Persona, so probably won't do much for me, to be honest.
Are you not interested at all, James, given that you love the previous games and cool characters and the music?
Well, that's the thing, but I like the RPG aspects and all that kind of thing and the dialogue and everything. I'm not really interested in the fighting stuff really so much.
Yeah.
That was always like a sideshow to the main stuff. So I don't really care, but there you go.
There's also going to be a new Persona 5, isn't there, as well?
Yeah, there's a new one of those coming which has got some extra
a new
stuff.
semester and extra stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if that's... See, I haven't read about it yet, but I didn't know if it was like a whole new thing where you had to play through the entire game again or whatever to get to the new content.
No, I think it's like
download
Persona
stuff,
4 Golden in that it's like just extra stuff really. But it's coming out in end of this year in Japan and like late 2020 in the rest of the world. So we're like ages away from it coming out over here. Yeah, but still no Switch version.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the last of these is that Mario Kart Tour closed beta is coming next month for Android.
Well, for Android in the US, it's like it's a double kick in the nuts. It's from the 7th of May,
and it's a closed beta, and like you'll get people are going to be sort of chosen randomly, and apparently it's coming out in the summer. What do you think, Sean? Would you be interested in trying this?
Yeah, I mean, I've signed up for the beta.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? See, that I heard it's US only, so is that not the case?
Oh, I don't know. It let me sign up.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I was definitely signed in with my Nintendo account, which knows where I'm from. So,
sweet.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see what it's like. I have no interest in playing it because I've got it on Switch. But who knows? If it's a great Mario Kart game, maybe it will be worth getting on mobile.
Yeah.
Have you seen any screenshots yet?
No, I don't think it released any.
Hasn't been any, has it?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was supposed to come out at the end of March, but then it got pushed back to summer. So yeah, I guess we'll see. Okay, and then finally, the last thing I've got here is I've got a sort of the new console rumor roundup stuff.
Yes, this is the best bit.
There was a couple of things that happened. So first of all, Bloomberg had like rumors that there was going to be a cheaper Switch coming in June with what they called a modest upgrade later, like in the year. Mm-hmm. So this was supposed to come in June, and there was no price point stated at all. And this modest upgrade, they said it wasn't going to be anything that was like significantly more powerful than we've got like at the moment.
Right.
And a lot of sites started to speculate that this was going to be like shown at E3. But then later on, Nintendo came out and said, no, we've got no plans to show any of this. Like this, that obviously they are working on new hardware all the time, but we're not revealing what it is or anything, and it definitely won't get revealed in June. So that was that. And
but it doesn't say much. They could do it before or after.
They could do, yeah.
So not saying, I mean, like, with no plans to announce it, but it could be announced before.
I mean, I'd have thought like a cheaper Switch or whatever. It's it makes a lot of sense at this stage, especially with like the 3DS really slowing down now in terms of like there's not much coming out. I mean, I was saying to Chen the other day, I was like, if their one came out and it was for like not ridiculously expensive, then I consider getting one for Asher just so that I don't have to give in my one all the time.
Well, how much would you say is not ridiculously expensive? You think £200?
I'd say sub 150 is what I'd want to pay.
Good luck.
I wouldn't want to pay like. There's no way I'd want to pay like £200 or whatever for it because I'd be thinking about how does this fit in with 3DS and where that's been, and that you can get one of those for like £100 or whatever. And when they first came out, they were around sort of like 130 or whatever. So I think 150 would be fine, but it's not going to be that, is it?
Because the Switch currently is what, 350, isn't it?
No, it's not that much.
Was it
280 at launch, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and then I think it's come down a little bit since. So if you're doing like a dedicated handheld unit, because let's face it, that's probably what it is. If you're removing the TV functionality, if you're removing, the Joy-Cons aren't separate anymore.
They're not going to remove the TV functionality. Surely it's just a dock they would remove from the pack. No.
Maybe.
I mean, I would imagine they would want, like, the perfect thing would people buy this and then they pay the extra like £90 for a dock. So surely it will still have the USB-C thing at the bottom.
I guess so. I'm just thinking like how could they cut costs? If they were saying like, look, this is just a handheld, like it plays the same games, but you will only ever use it handheld. So the Joy-Cons aren't detachable. There's no Bluetooth. There's no. It doesn't have to output to a TV. I'm just thinking, like, if they were aiming to get one for that sort of 100 to 150
do you see them ever
price
doing
point.
That? Do you see them like properly saying there is no Switch essentially? It's just handheld.
That's the problem, isn't it? Because as soon as you do that, it's not the Switch anymore.
It's not Switch. It plays Switch games, but it doesn't switch.
Every single advert, people on the couch, maybe they're playing on the TV, maybe they're playing outside. Like, to say that, but not on this one, no. I mean, I can see to reduce cost, you say that cheaper things. But we
had a handheld console. The whole point was it was 3D, and then they released a 2D one. And that did really well because it was for kids.
But the difference with that is I gather a lot of people didn't really bother with the 3D element, whereas I think some people will only play this on a handheld and some people will only play this on the TV. I think it's probably slightly different.
Yeah, so for those who only play it as a handheld, it works.
Yeah,
and those people
also,
do
when
exist.
they released the other one, they called it just the 2DS, didn't they? I mean, maybe this could be just the not Switch.
The
Nintendo
don't
not
switch.
Switch.
The don't switch. It's like, yeah, I mean, I can see cheaper plastics, maybe not being packaged with the dock, the Joy-Con attached to the actual device itself. And I can see that going for 200 or less than 200 quid. I mean, the new Pokemon games come out towards the end of the year. They're going to absolutely want this thing out for then. So this is coming this year, I would imagine.
That'd be perfect, yeah. I mean, the modest upgrade one, it's it's really interesting, like, you know, looking at the Switch now. Like, when it came out, everyone was like, fuck, man, this is actually really nice, because we were comparing it to the Wii U, which, let's face it, even when it came out, wasn't a particularly desirable piece of kit. But, I mean, the Switch, like, compared to like modern tablets and stuff, the Switch does feel a little bit old already. Do you not think?
It's all right.
I mean, it's definitely a big chunky boy.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting if the new one is like, look, the specs are the same, it's just a bit sleeker.
I would just like to see like a better screen. You know, like just a 1080p screen.
If they were like, look,
nice.
it plays. Yeah, the games don't necessarily play any better, but it'll run stuff in 1080p in handheld mode.
Yeah,
and it looks a bit nicer. Shamefully, I'd probably pay up for that.
I was going to ask, like, what's the minimum that would take? So if I had a 1080p screen, that would be enough for you two, would it?
I mean, I hate myself for saying it, but I think it might be, yeah. Just because, like, going from the phone to the Switch is fine in isolation, like, clearly, it looks nice. But going between that and my phone does make the Switch look very old all of a sudden.
You should try going between that and then LaboVR. As I will discuss later.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing. If they really did want to push the VR stuff a bit more, a 1080p screen would be better.
It would really help.
Still not ideal, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sort of happy that they say modest upgrade. Hopefully, whatever the modest upgrade is not enough to tempt me to make me think I've got to get the new one. Let's hope
Bluetooth audio would be nice.
Okay, day one.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if it's still going to be like 280 quid, then no, forget it.
Okay.
You're right,
the next bit. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened there. That was, I don't know. Anyway, the last bit we got from here, so this is the last sort of rumour thing, is about PlayStation 5, and this is apparently now definitely not going to launch until, like, for at least another year. So it's going to be at least 12 months, so that means the earliest now is up May 2020. And you can kind of understand why, because apparently they had their most profitable year in their company's history, like in 2018. And they sold like 96.8 million like PS4s now, like not just in 1 year, but you know, over the thing. It's so they don't seem to be any like massive hurry. It seems to sort of
it makes sense. This makes perfect sense. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like Sony and I know that they've mostly released in the fall, in the autumn. Nintendo have released theirs like mostly like the first quarter. So yeah, I totally envision like a sort of October, September, October, November 2020 launch date anyway. But it again. I mean, they're selling so many PS4s that they don't need to rush this thing out at all, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's the end of the news.
Cool.
It's a busy one.
Right, what have we been playing? I mean, I've only got one. I'll just do that now, shall I? I've only got one, and it's a game that I've been wanking on about for the last 7 years. So,
is it Destiny 2?
No, that's not been out for 7 years, James.
You got him good there, James.
No, this is Dragon's Dogma, which is out on the Switch now.
I own that. I haven't played it yet.
It's one of my it is one of my favourite games of all time. I was mildly anxious that going back, I was going to be like, do you know what? I really love this, but I haven't got the time, or because like any RPGs, it's a bit of a slow start. As I probably mentioned last week, like the story gets really interesting, but only about halfway through. Which isn't to say like the first half isn't worth playing, but like definitely the most interesting stuff comes in the latter half.
And, when you say halfway, is that like 30 hours in, 50 hours in?
Do you know, I can't remember how many hours it is, but yeah, it's certainly like.
But it's like an 80 to 100 hour game.
If you wanted it to be, certainly, yeah. If you really wanted to cover everything, and and it is there's a lot of side quests that are fucking kill 10 rats or escort this person halfway across the map or whatever.
Find some flowers.
Yeah, but there are side quests that are do actually contribute to the story quite a lot, or it's not necessarily clear how they do. Initially, you'll meet a character and they're like, oh yeah, this is the situation I'm in, and then you're like, oh, okay, whatever, and then later on that becomes really relevant and interesting. So it is it's not a game where you can sort of say oh well, if you haven't got time, just blitz through it and you'll have a good time. I mean, you will, but you'll be missing out on a lot of the interesting story stuff.
So you could critical path it, but it would be a drastically different game.
You would be missing out, yeah. So I do think it's worth doing the extra stuff. But yeah, but then that makes it a very long game, which not everyone has got the time for. But yeah, I'm properly enjoying being back on it. It's interesting, it being on the Switch and it being portable is cool, but you can tell that it's a 7-year-old game that wasn't necessarily designed for short play sessions.
Oh, really?
Like everyone said with Breath of the Wild that even though it was originally in development for the Wii U, it really feels like they thought about but people might be playing this on a portable format, almost as if it was designed for the Switch all along. And it's in Breath of the Wild, you can do or see something meaningfully cool within 10 to 15 minutes, whereas Dragon's Dogma is a bit more drawn out. Every time, or a lot of the time when you go out on a quest, it can be a proper voyage. It can just be a really simple quest where it's go to this hideout and kill these gang members. But it can take a while, just getting around the world. They have alleviated that somewhat because this is the Dark Arisen version of Dragon's Dogma, which is basically the sort of re-release with a load of DLC added.
Okay.
And that improves the transport, the fast travel and stuff. So in the original game, you had this one item called the port crystal, which basically you could put on the ground anywhere. And then that became a fast travel point that you could use. You now get quite a few of those. So initially you have to do the traveling on foot. But once you've got a couple of port crystals, you can look at the map and be okay, well, if I put one here and one here and one here, you build your own fast travel network. And to use those, you used to need these items called fairy stones, which depleted, whereas now you just get an infinite one, so you can use as many times as you want. So that helps quite a lot. But still, those initial journeys to places you've not been before are really daunting and often really difficult as well. It's not always clear what level you're supposed to be when you go into certain areas and stuff, and you can just you just be wandering through a forest and then a giant fucking boss just comes at you out of nowhere. And often, if you're good enough, you can more or less deal with it, which is really exciting. But sometimes you are just totally outclassed and you have to know when to run away and stuff, which it doesn't tell you. In the loading screens, it does
Sean,
say Go on, sorry.
Sorry, Sean, I mean, have you been playing this mostly handheld or docked?
Bit of both, mostly handheld, I think, yeah.
Because I bought this and I haven't really touched it much because I wanted to finish Phoenix Wright that I'm playing at the moment. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I found with it in handheld mode is I did find it more difficult to see.
Okay.
If you know what I mean, like the text is really tiny.
Yeah.
On it was the only thing.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. You need a 1080p Switch, mate. That's the problem.
Yeah,
yeah. I think.
Also, could you recommend what class to start with? Is there anything that's probably better for
I really like playing as the Strider, which is your sort of rogue stroke ranger class. So it's got 2 daggers and a bow and arrow and stuff. Because then that crosses really nicely into the magic archer, which is just so much fun. Because when you're the magic archer, you draw the string on your magic bow and then you just sort of wave the reticle around and it paints the targets, and then you just release it and then it just shoots all these bolts of magic out everywhere, and it's fucking cool. So that works really well. It's I've never played as the magic the mage classes because I really enjoy the melee combat in it. So I feel like playing as one of the mages would sort of because you spend a lot of time activating a spell and then waiting 5 seconds for it to cast and stuff, which is not hugely engaging. But then if you don't really want a fast-paced action game, maybe that's a good alternative. And to be fair, the magic spells you get later on are absolutely obscene. You literally pulling meteors down from space and stuff. It's proper good.
See, because I started as a mage, that's what I went for.
Okay.
And it's like you've got your wand or whatever, and he's just like firing like stuff, and it just looks like he's just firing bubbles at people. it just looks so pathetic. Like it's just like going like pop. It's not good.
Yeah, so not great. But I mean, there's like the warrior class as well, which is like you can do quite a bit of damage, but you're mainly about tanking, and so it's all like drawing enemies to you and stuff while other people do the damage. So I feel like the Strider gets you the most involved, and like because obviously the whole pawn system where you have these like AI assistants, like I'm quite happy for like my AI companions to sort of draw attention and cast the magic spells while I actually run around doing damage to people. So that works really well. The coolest thing about this getting a re-release and it being on a platform where like a lot of like people who never played it before are like, oh well, actually if I can play it handheld, this will I'm interested now. Means it's like a lot of people are playing it, and it's really nice because the whole pawn system, which is you have your AI companion who can be like hired out, like other players can hire them to help them, and the things they learn with you cross over into their game, and the things that they learn with other people cross back into yours. Like to the point that if you start a quest that your companion has already done, like with someone else, they'll know what to do and they'll just tell you where to look and where to go and stuff. And it's this really fascinating system, and it's like everyone started again at the same time, and loads of new people are playing it. So like I've actually got like a bunch of friends who are all playing it, and we're constantly swapping pawns around and helping each other out and stuff. And like people are tweeting at me saying how good my pawn is because he's like been helping them out, and it's great. It's really good fun. Because like when it first like got unveiled, like there was like a teaser trailer, and I was like, oh my god, you can see there's all companions running around. It must have co-op. And then it turned out it wasn't co-op. It was just this weird sort of asynchronous system. Everyone sulked about it, but it's really interesting, and the way it ties into the story later on is really clever as well. Like it just fully goes into the fact that like, oh yeah, like every player's game is like another unit. It's like all part of this shared universe, and it's just it's really fascinating. It's 25 quid, I think it is, on the Switch. I would say it's well worth it if you've never checked it out. It will take a lot of time, and it is quite hard. There's an easy mode, which I've never tried, but like don't be afraid to use that, I think, if you are struggling, because you can, like, the autosave is not very generous. Like if you spend like half an hour like trekking across the map and then die, like you'll go back to when it last like autosaved, like when you last went through like a door or whatever that was like a gate into a town or whatever. Like, so you can lose a lot of progress, which is a bit shit. But no, I fucking love it. It's just such a weird, like initially quite normal and boring, but later on incredibly weird game.
I was going to ask you about how it dealt with sort of like save states, and if you like are playing a bit and stop and start again, like so you could go for quite a while without saving, or is it quite common to go through a town and trigger?
I mean, there's only like one major city in the whole game, and then there's like a couple of like camps sort of out in the wilderness where you can sleep for the night and save your game. I mean, so it is quite common to go for a while without saving, and there's no way to do it manually as far as I'm aware. But again, it's sort of by design. It is meant to be a little bit punishing, and it is meant to give you that sort of fear of like going out on like quite a long voyage. Because like the other thing is, it's got like a full day and night cycle, and nighttime is fucking terrifying. Like it's properly dark. Like unless you've got a lantern or you've got like a magic user who can cast. There's like a spell that just like creates like a load of light around a given area. Like if you haven't got either of those, you cannot see, and like the undead just start coming out of the ground constantly.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like once you find like a way of dealing with it, it's proper good fun. But the first time it happens, it's fucking horrible. So yeah, it is quite unforgiving, and so as I say, like if you think you're going to struggle, like just stick it on easy mode by all means. But I really love it, and I'm just glad I'm still enjoying it as much as I did back in the day. And it's just really fun, like because I know the game quite well, I'm just sort of ploughing ahead, which means anyone who, like, if you're friends with someone, you can hire their pawn at like no cost. So if you've got a friend who's like really far ahead in the game, you can hire their essentially really overpowered pawn, put it in your game for free, and get a relatively easy ride. So it's quite nice sort of being sort of relatively at the front of that, and everyone's like using my pawn and, like I say, sort of telling me how great he's been and stuff. It's just
did
cool.
you have the equivalent when you were playing it first time round?
I mean, not so much, because it was like people just weren't like, there were loads of people playing it, but like literally they all just played like the first hour and then binned it off. So like every time you go to this place called the Rift, and that's where you hire your pawns, and like by default it like shows you all your friends' ones, and it was like, they're all like fucking level 5. Like, piss off, I don't want to see these anymore, they're annoying me. So like I actually like removed some people from a PSN friends list because because it was just, I wasn't playing games with them online, and it was just really annoying seeing that they had all these like crap low level pawns that were just wearing rags and stuff. It's like, oh, fuck off. So whereas this has felt like a lot more like people are actually really putting the effort in, which I think again is in part due to the fact that it's on the Switch, so people are playing it at their own convenience. And the fact that, and it's nice that it's a game that has this sort of online functionality, but because it's so asynchronous, it's like you can be at home, like, check in with your pawn and like hire some others in, and then, take your Switch away for the day, play on the train or the bus or whatever. And then once you come back at the end of the day, that's when you resync everything. So it's not like you have to be online all the time or else it doesn't work. It just like checks in whenever you say, like, whether you sleep at an inn or whatever.
Oh, so you don't have to... Okay, so I download like your pawn or whatever, and then I don't need to...
Yeah, basically,
I could play it offline.
Yeah, so you just keep him for as long as you want, and then eventually you return him, and you can give me like a gift if you want, which is like any item in your inventory. I've given people some rotten meat and a skull so far. And you can like leave like a comment on like on the pawn, which can be anything from like how helpful they were to like a comment on their appearance, which will be things like has a poised beauty and stuff like that, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, I rarely read the comments on pawns, but I'm tempted now. So do you have to download a pawn, or can you stream the pawn? Is it just...
Very good, Matthew. Very good. Well, apparently the government's bringing in new legislation, which means you have to provide a...
Before that happens, I'm going to make use of your pawn, Sean.
Can we not?
It's really high-level stuff, mate.
In terms of like how it looks, obviously you played this like 7 years ago, whatever you said it was. Like, does it look how you remember it looking? And have you done like a comparison? And actually,
I haven't done a comparison. It still looks okay. It like... By and large, it's a really good port. Like, performance-wise, it's absolutely fine. There is a lot of like pop-in with like foliage and stuff, but I don't know if it was always that way, or if, because obviously the last version I played before this was the PC version, which I assume was souped up a little bit. So I don't know, but it looks pretty good. Like, certainly as far as Switch games are concerned, and it runs absolutely fine. So. Yeah, it doesn't look as old as it is, certainly. I don't think it does anyway.
And you think you're going to keep playing this and playing it until it's done?
Yeah, I mean, I was fully addicted to my time at Portia, which I do want to go back to, but like Dragon's Dogma has just completely trounced it this week. I haven't played anything else, so yeah. It's
a shame, Sean. Portia's a good game.
Well, why don't you tell us about that? Because I haven't got anything else to talk about now.
Yeah, I mean, I've played a fair bit more of my time at Portia. Had a really great experience in a dungeon. Have you done any of the dungeon type things yet, Sean?
I have. Yeah, just the first like set of levels. You've done the one, and then
we have to take that device and like build the machine. Is that it? Like is one of the quests. I think you might have had that on your stream.
Oh, maybe. I can't remember.
Where you had to take like what looked like a big tube, and you had to build it first and take it to like basically take it to the building on the island.
Oh, that's the haunted cave thing. Yeah,
have you done that?
Yeah, I have done that. Yeah,
yeah, and like obviously, so how Portia works is that you can. There are enemies, and if you die, you basically revert back to your previous save, and it saves when you sleep overnight. So basically, you can go the whole day, and if, for instance, you die, which has happened, then you lose all your progress on that day. So anything you might build or collected or talked to people or missions you might have done, it's all lost. I've had it before where I've like, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and you basically fall asleep at like 3 a.m. I was like, I'll quickly go to a dungeon or go here and go there, and I've died and I've lost my entire day's progress, and it's been bad. But I went out to this this dungeon, and there's loads of enemies, loads of really easy enemies, and then comes the boss, and like I was trying to kill this boss, and he hit me loads, and it's really sort of finicky. The combat, it's not like a great combat model at all. And even like trying to like heal, you've got to like keep pressing left or right on the D-pad to go to like your healing item, and even that's really finicky. And like he got me down to like 6% health, and I was like, oh my god, do not die now, Matt, do not lose everything you've done today in this one day in this game. And I was like, I was so tense. I was suddenly like, because I was playing on DocTouch on the TV, which is rare for me, but I was doing it, and I got so tense. I suddenly had to like stood up. I was like, it wasn't just like a relaxed sitting down game experience. Like, do not die. And it was like a really high pressure situation, but I got through it, and it's really nice to do like a different sort of style of gameplay for that game. It's really impressive, all the different things it's got, and it's also got this weird sort of dungeon mode. I basically put like 20 plus hours in already. I bloody love that game.
It's great, isn't it?
After hammering it like the weekend, so not this last weekend, but the weekend before for the last pod, I was like, I hammered it all weekend, and then last week, I was like, I wonder if I'm still like into it. Maybe it's just a weekend thing. But then I thought, okay, I'll play it a little bit, and then it was suddenly quite late at night, and I was like, okay, no, this game's still got it. It's still got that hook, still got that really great gameplay loop that keeps me coming back. And I've like found other abandoned ruins now, and other much more complex, like more difficult enemies, and I'm enjoying the combat a lot more. So yeah, I'm still playing my time at Portia. Still loving it. They actually put out like a blog, I think Team 17 did, or the dev did. I think it was Team 17. Put out did a blog post earlier this week, or maybe over the weekend, saying that they've obviously heard lots of criticisms around slowness and like lag in the menus, and they're promising like a really big patch in the next few weeks, I think.
Oh, wicked.
Which will fix like menu things, UI things, speed of the game, etc., etc. So I'm excited to see what that's like. Maybe Sean, if you're playing Dragon's Dogma, it might be worth waiting for the patch.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, I'm still playing that. I mean, playing that, I've always got in the back of my mind Stardew Valley, and I'm sort of tempted like maybe I'll play that again soon. But yeah, my time Portia is still bloody excellent. If you weren't bored by mine and Sean's chat last week, I implore you to give my time Portia a go. I played Days Gone. I barely played it. I'm only like 3 hours in, unfortunately. So, and this is apparently a big old game. Like before it came out, before the reviews dropped, in my head I thought it was like a Uncharted style 25, 30 hour game. But people are saying it's like a 60 hour game.
Jesus.
Well, it's an open world one, isn't it? So they always make those ridiculously long.
Like that's instantly like, I can't. I don't want to play a 60-hour game. Anyway, regardless, obviously the reviews are out, and people have. I mean, a lot of the reviews I've seen and heard and read, they've basically said that there is a great game under there, and maybe like a really, really excellent like 10-hour game, but unfortunately it's bloated into like a 60-hour game with repetitive missions and bloated all sorts really. So yeah, I haven't heard anyone say it's bad. It's just not good, which is arguably worse. Who knows? But I mean, if it's a really unremarkable game, like that's surely even worse. And at least a bad game will get an emotional reaction out of you. Just saying, it's okay. It's
like
worse.
a bad game can be fascinatingly bad, whereas just a deadly average one.
It's such a shame because like so many of these open world games, people think, you need 60, 80, 100 hours of gameplay and all these missions. But if people said actually there is probably a good game on here, if they'd only made it a 10 to 15 hour game, it's just really sad, isn't it? Because again, like all the studios, I mean, I think Sony Bender worked on this for many, many, many years, like 5 or 6 years. Like, it's sad. Anyway, I made 3 hours in. Story-wise, it's pretty simplistic at the beginning. It's like, it's this guy like
I don't
Deacon.
think that changes from what I've heard.
What's that, sorry?
I don't think that changes from what I've heard.
No. It's like this guy called Deacon St. John and his wife and this guy called like Boom or Booze or whatever. And basically, there's like these freakers attack where you are. Your wife gets hurt in the first cutscene, and you rush to a helicopter. There's only room for 2 people on a helicopter. There's like a small discussion. Your wife's obviously on there because she's injured. Do you go? Her husband? No. You decide to send her off to a camp, and your I can't work out his brother or best friend, but you stay with him, and then you say you'll meet her later. And then in the first cutscene, it would appear that maybe and then after that is like 2 years later, and the news is that she isn't around anymore. So it's probably the story of the characters trying to work out what happened to her, so on and so forth. But I will say, I'm only like super early in, but I think graphically it looks really, really fantastic. The cutscenes are excellent from what I've seen so far. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not quite up there with Uncharted levels of animation, but I think they're really, really well acted. Graphically, it looks fantastic. I think voice acting is really good so far. Graphically, I think it's really, really strong. But gameplay so far, I mean, I've only done there's the initial linear mission tutorial type thing, and then you're let out into the open world. And I've gone to the first major camp nearby and done a couple of missions, but already it's remarkably unremarkable. It's almost exhausting, and there's nothing there so far. I'm going to keep playing it, and actually because there's really nothing else out at the moment, I'm definitely going to keep playing this. Mm-hmm. But already it feels rather uninspired. Graphically it looks nice, but there's a lot of brown out there. Even riding the bike doesn't feel super satisfying, although I hear that improves a lot when you upgrade it with various upgrades and whatnot. I mean, I barely started the game, so I'm going to play a lot more this week, and hopefully have a lot more impressions next week. But as unremarkable and uninspiring as it has been so far, I'm definitely keep playing it, mostly because there's nothing really else out there. And
I heard the motorbike's got the same mechanic as in Deadly Premonition, with having to fill it up with petrol every 5 seconds.
I've heard about the petrol thing. 'Cause I've heard basically what the core gameplay loop just isn't very satisfying or fun at all. Repetitive. We've
That's
had
a bit of a problem.
Yes, it is. Yeah, for a game which apparently is arguably which is apparently incredibly repetitive. But it gave me Last of Us vibes. Only in the fact that it's a good-looking game, and there's not zombies, freakers. So if nothing else, it's made me quite pumped for Last of Us 2, even though I was ridiculously pumped anyway. But I'm going to play loads more.
Was there a carousel?
Not yet. Who knows? that might be coming later. I haven't seen the whole game. No, but I'm going to play loads more next week, and hopefully have a few more things to say about it then. But cool. Yeah, that day's gone. I played Bloodborne. I did Amy Gdala. Is that how would you say it, Sean?
Oh, amygdala.
Oh, is that okay? Even
as in the bit of the brain.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, anyway, that, and then that guy you chase around the building.
Oh, fuck, what's his name? I know the one you mean. He's an arsehole.
Yeah, it's like Nico or Nico. That guy.
Mikolash. That's it.
Mikolash. Yeah, I attempted him, but then but he killed me. But I'm gonna get it done next time. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it. But still going through the bosses. It's a brilliant game, and that's it. I've mostly been playing a Portia, and I squeezed in some days gone over the weekend. But I'm gonna play loads more, so I have many more things to say about that game next week for sure.
Cool, James.
I also have played very little this week. I keep meaning... Well, I did mean to go back to playing Sekiro, but as I said, I mean, we've been talking about this in the in the WhatsApp group, and it's like I'm finding it really difficult to sort of summon up the energy to do that. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I feel like I've sort of lost the rhythm that I had with the game, because I played it for about a week or 2 weeks, whatever, before we went away, and then now I'm just finding it really difficult to motivate myself to go back. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's the feeling that my skills will be worse again, and just having to relearn everything again and all that. And I don't know. At the moment, I just don't feel like I want to play anything that's really difficult. And
fair enough.
Yeah, so I just haven't gone back yet. I don't know if I will. I mean, I probably shouldn't I?
You will. You'll have a quiet week and you'll play it. And then, I mean, how long were you playing it before you went away? Like a week or two?
Yeah, about a week or two.
Yeah, so you'll have a quiet week or two, and you've already just said there's not a lot out at the moment. You'll put it on, and then you'll get back in the swing of things, no doubt.
I mean, I am already giggling at the idea of it just not even being in our Game of the Year show.
Yeah.
And the fucking bollocking we will get from the audience for that.
Are you interested in playing it anytime soon, Sean?
Not really, no. Same as James, I've just got no appetite for difficult stuff at the moment.
I was enjoying it. I really was enjoying it, and I had felt some sense of achievement from beating a couple of the bosses and stuff. But it's just the thought of I know that to get back into it, I'm going to have to sit down and spend several hours getting back into it, and I just don't feel like doing that at the moment. I want something a bit more instant.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I've got it and I really want to play it, but when I started playing it, that and Bloodborne at the same time was just it was too much. Like, they're totally different styles of games.
Sense.
So I'm excited to play it, and I'll probably just start that as a Sunday night stream after Bloodborne's done. But as much as I wanted to play it, I couldn't do both at the same time. It's like reading 2 books at once. It's just impossible. So yeah, I'm putting that down for the moment, and I'll come back to it.
So instead, the main thing that I played this week was I played The Walking Dead, the final season.
I've got so many questions. Can you discuss this non-spoilery?
Not really, and that's part of the problem because, again, you see, this is the biggest problem I have with doing what you've been playing, to be honest. It's because most of the games I play are always like narrative-heavy games that you can't ruin because, like discussing them in detail will totally ruin them. But so I've got to kind of sort of dance around what I feel about this game, and I mean, it's the best season of the game since the first. I really believe that. Like, definitely. I mean, it doesn't match like the first. I mean, nothing. I don't think ever really will, really, because that was so well judged and everything. But it's the closest I felt like, and it's the same. I mean, they replay the same sort of thing where you've got like that sort of adult-child dynamic going on of like passing on knowledge. But with the difference being of it being not like a grown-up doing this. Instead, it's a teenager that's that's learning from the world that she's grown up in, compared with how Lee was obviously a fully grown adult by that point. And she's not entirely sure of herself in the same way that Lee was. So that adds some sort of more sort of tension to stuff. But also there's a lot of parallels with the recent Life is Strange series as well, with with this idea that like the decisions you're making are impacting on somebody else's decision making process later. But it's a lot less subtle than Life is Strange. Like in this, it's that kind of like AJ will remember that, and like it's like and it's like you have changed AJ, so he was like this now, and it's it's a bit more sort of like gamey in that sense, where that is, but it still works really well. And I didn't shed any tears from this, but I did feel like I really cared by the end, actually. And the last episode in particular it's very effective. I mean, I felt it goes on a bit too long, like where it keeps feeling like it's reaching like an end point, and then there's more. That's and that feels a bit like they didn't really want to say goodbye, and they didn't really want to sort of end the journey, and then so it really does go on a bit, but. Not, and I'd say the ending I was generally satisfied with it. It was, but they still left like a number of threads dangling as well, like from this that are things that possibly they could develop further if they were going to continue, but obviously they're probably not going to. I don't think it's kind of likely, but
so overall you were satisfied with the ending.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I mean, as I understand it, there are different ways the ending can play out, but the one I got, I felt happy with. And as I said, I felt quite emotional when things were going on because there are so many. Obviously, it parallels a lot of things that happen, like in other series, and it's just really, it was really well put together. The engine, there was no problem with that this time. Like there was no glitching and all that kind of thing. It felt. This is what felt sad about this because it really felt like they actually nailed it this time in terms of like the technical side of things. And although it doesn't have the subtlety of stuff like Life is Strange. And the sort of the character development in the same way, this is still really worth playing. Like if you enjoyed the first series of Walking Dead, I think you could play this and not bother with any of the other stuff, and you'd still feel quite satisfied from it. I think because there's not like a huge link with this and the previous episodes that have come. The previous series rather. It's it feels like another sort of standalone really, and. Yeah, excellent. I really, really did enjoy it, and I do feel sad that it's over.
That's good. I listened to, I think it was one of the Kind of Funny Games casts, and like Greg had just finished it, and he had a lot of thoughts, and it did sound really interesting actually from what he spoke about. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. After all that, it's good to have an ending you're satisfied with.
Yeah. It did have good closure. I mean, as I said, but without. If I would have to spoil it to start talking about, the various aspects of it. So I don't really want to do that because I really do think it's worth playing. Like, if you care at all about narrative games, it's worth playing still, I think.
Oh, cool. No, it's just nice because obviously with everything that happened with the studio, it's like, well, if they do manage to finish it somehow, is it even going to be worth it? But no, I'm really pleased that it's turned out the way it has.
Yeah, they have this really nice sequence towards the end, which like kind of feels like it's sort of like paying tribute to like the whole series, and it's just that was a nice way to conclude it. And I nearly posted like a screenshot of like the end bit, but then I was like, I can't do that because that will set people's minds of like, oh, that's happened or whatever,
right,
that kind of thing. So yeah, it's it really, really, really good. Cool. But yeah. The only other thing I've really played at all this week was I played the Mario Odyssey and Zelda LaboVR stuff.
Oh, fantastic. I cannot wait to hear
Are they really good?
No, they're terrible. And
both of them are terrible?
Yeah, they're both pretty terrible.
Okay, well, let's start with Mario. What? So Mario's just a part of the game, isn't it? It's not the whole game.
Yeah, well, Mario, what they do is they've added in I think it's for 3 or 4 kingdoms. I think it's 4 kingdoms. They've like added this extra section where all you have to do is collect musical notes you collect the musical notes, and then that creates like an instrument which you then give to one of the the musicians, and then you do that for each of the worlds, and then eventually you get to see the concert performed again, right. But like in VR. Okay. But the trouble with this is not, because it doesn't have like the depth like perception kind of stuff that you get with PlayStation VR. It doesn't have. It doesn't feel like VR.
I was going to say, why doesn't it? That's weird.
Because you can't. Not stereoscopic 3D. I thought it was.
Well, you can't like for example. Okay, if like with PSVR, if you stand up and walk forward, you will walk further into the game. If you see what I mean.
Oh, I see.
Like with Astrobot. Yeah. With Astrobot, you could like look around corners and stuff like that,
and you can like and you can like lean forward to zoom in, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you can't do that with this.
Right? Like, it's the same with Gear VR. So yeah, you can tilt it round, but it doesn't understand when you've actually moved. Like if you lean forwards, it understands that you've tilted, like the angle changed, but not the movement that goes with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So all you're doing with this is you're looking around at where Mario is like in the 3D space, but you can't change the camera angle or anything at all, which makes... you can see why something like Astrobot was so well designed, because it had been built around the fact that you could like move your head around, you could have a look at stuff and everything, whereas with this you can't, which makes you feel it's largely pointless.
So does this feel more like a 360 video than...
Yes, it feels much more like that, but in very low resolution.
Is that really a problem? Yeah, I had a feeling it would be. I think I was just hoping that, like, especially with Mario, just like the fact that it looks pretty nice, or it's just a nice sort of world to be in, would sort of win over. But I guess it doesn't.
It's okay if the character, like if Mario's close to you, it doesn't look too bad. But it's as soon as there's any distance on it, and it just becomes like almost like a jumble of like pixels. If you know what I mean, like it's really, it doesn't look great. And
what's like the screen door effect like, where you can see the gaps in between pixels? Like the PlayStation VR is actually really good for that. Whereas early like Vive and Oculus kits, there was definitely a big like you could see the pixels, the edge of the pixels
the lines easily. Within it. Yeah.
What's it like on this?
Well, it just looks like you're like massive scan lines, basically, like across the thing.
It doesn't look like you're looking for a mesh curtain.
No,
okay.
It's not that bad, but it's still. It doesn't. It doesn't look good. Is the thing, and it's. I played both of them, and it's also got that thing where you have to hold like the thing up to your face the whole time.
Yeah.
And I can see why they only did like really short experiences, because it does get uncomfortable very quickly. And then I started doing that thing where I was like just putting my like elbows on the table and then looking through it, and you're thinking, this is just Virtual Boy is all I'm doing here. And it's just, well, I don't know why I'd want to play the game in this way, because it's not adding anything to it at all. Like just moving around, looking at it from different angles, you can't. So it doesn't really feel like it's.
So you can't play the kingdom as we know it. You're basically just playing new sections of those kingdoms we know of.
It's a very small area, like a really really tiny area where you can just do that, and then you just have to find some musical notes. That's it.
Which I could understand if it was really well done as a result. like you say, if Mario's sort of going far enough away that he's basically getting aliased to fuck because there aren't enough pixels for him, why have they built environments where you can get that far away from the camera? Like, if they're going to make it this restrained experience, why not really sort of specifically build it so that it works? But strange.
They have with some of them. Like, some of them, it's really... Like, the Cap Kingdom one, you can't go that far away, and then as soon as you start to go too far, it, like, just zooms you back.
Yeah.
You can't... So, the environments are quite constrained, but I just don't see the point of it, really. I just don't see what it's really adding, because... Like I said, with Astrobot, it really felt like there was a point, to it being in VR.
Yeah.
It feels like... this is just, like, a proof of concept of, like, yes, you can look at things in, like, 360, like, view with this. And it's like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that, I mean, of the two, that one looks the best, I think, because Zelda looks appalling. Like, it really does. I mean, I do not understand. I mean, I've seen people commenting on this, like, online, just saying, like, oh, it's amazing and all this kind of thing. It's not. It looks dreadful. Like, it looks really, really terrible. The frame rate becomes really, like, juddery as well, and it doesn't look so good. And I wouldn't want to play the game in any way in this mode at all, because, I mean, you start to get, like, the motion sickness as well from it. It's because the thing, all you do with your head with this is it just controls the camera, like, in terms of, like, looking, again, because you can't, it doesn't know where you are, obviously, so, moving your head left or right, all it does is just move the camera.
Right.
And again, why would you want to play the game in that way? And it just zooms everything in. So everything is, like, really a lot closer to you, which is fine, but then they don't, the character models don't look that great that close up. And I remember
how so the view, so the view to Link is just much closer.
Yeah, okay. It's much, much closer. And then if you look up or down, then it's just basically the same as if you were using the stick to move the camera up or down. So it's really odd, because if you look down, then suddenly
things zoom in.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Exactly, yeah. And so it's... I'm baffled at people that think this is good. Like, absolutely baffled, because I just don't... I tweeted about it saying, like, it looks like Ocarina of Time on N64 on, like, a, like, composite, like, connection or something. It looks dreadful, like, really, really bad. And I don't know why anyone would play it this way. I mean, again, maybe it's a cool proof of concept that, you can do this kind of thing, but also I'd be thinking, why would you bother? Because it doesn't look that great at all. The other games that come with LaboVR are good. Like, there's some really nice sort of, like, really short, like, mini games and stuff that are quite fun. Like, there's one where, which is like a platformer, which works, although it's got this really weird, like, floaty, like, jump, which you're thinking, this is really odd. This is like Nintendo, who make, like, like Mario with, like, the best jumping ever, and this has got, like, worse jumping than, like, Little Big Planet in it. It's just, you're just thinking, surely they'd have nailed that for this. But that stuff's good, because, again, it's been designed for it, and the visuals are, like, really pared down, so it's obviously not trying to do too much, and it doesn't make you feel so sick as you get with this. I mean, I very rarely feel sick when I play VR games, like with, like, PlayStation VR and stuff. This made me feel awful, and I'm sure it's just because the resolution is so low, and as I said, it just looks like you're looking at, like, massive scan lines on a TV.
I guess that resolution and frame rate is not gonna.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And, I mean, I saw someone in there saying they were going to play through the whole game like this. You're just thinking, what's wrong with you? It's like, I just don't understand why you want to do that if you can play it on a TV. Yeah. It just, I didn't feel that it was increasing my immersion, mostly because it looked really terrible and the frame rate was bad. And it's like that, they're the things that would, like, break any kind of immersion for me, like, from playing it.
Oh, what a shame. I mean,
it's free, so fine.
And
that's
I think,
okay.
like, we always knew that Breath of the Wild was a bit of a punt in comparison to Mario Odyssey, but I'm surprised here that even Mario Odyssey isn't particularly great.
No. I mean, it's just not great. I mean, it's just not something you'd want to do, really. It's I'd have thought that they would have tried to maybe have done more with it, to make it a bit more interesting, but it's really not. I mean, next time we're together, I'll bring it and you can see.
I'm really fascinated to try it. Yeah, I really want to give it a go.
It's just, like, obviously, because Nintendo are so, like, we either do something properly or we don't bother. Like, so for them to just sort of fart this out and for it to be not very good,
And that's what it feels like. It feels like they've just like gone, "Hey, we'll just." I mean, put it this way, right? My son is absolutely obsessed with Mario Odyssey still. Like, he still plays it like all the time. He heard about this and he played it like a bit, and then I went back a few minutes later and was like, "What are you doing?" And he just moved on to another, like, the VR, like the Toy-Con games instead.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that interested in it. He just said, "Yeah, it's not that great."
Strange.
So yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah.
So do you see yourself going back to any of the non, the other Toy-Con games at all, or are you done with that as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not done with it because I still need to build stuff. I mean, I've just been really busy with work over the last couple of weeks.
What pack did you get? You got like the animal. No, you got the camera.
Yeah.
What else did you get? The bird thing?
There was two. There's the one which is just the starter one, which is just kind of the headset, and that's it, I think, and maybe one other thing. Whereas there's the variety one, which has got like the elephant and the wind pedal.
Oh, so you got all that as well, did you? Oh, awesome.
Yeah. It was. I mean, the difference in price was not massive. It was like 15, 20 quid or something. I just thought, because then now, when I've read now, like loads of people saying they bought the starter one and now wish that they got the other one. So yeah, I thought it was worth that, and we got that Twitch payout, so that was nice.
Cool. That it?
That's it. Yeah, I've got nothing else. Apart from Penny Trite, which is still brilliant, but there you go.
Right, do you want to do emails?
Okay, if you want to email us, it's podcast@thecomputergameshow.com. Steve Lambert has emailed in. He said, for reasons too boring to explain, I've been too poor to buy consoles for the last few years, rendering me a slave to the Steam sale. This isn't a complaint, but does mean I've had to miss out on some games I really wanted to play, like Bloodborne and Horizon Zero Dawn and recently Red Dead 2. Last week we moved out of London and suddenly I have a load of fresh, tasty, disposable income. Now the question is, at this late stage, do I shell out for a PS4 Pro and use baby sleepy times to catch up with the latest last couple of years of games, or do I wait for the next generation and cross my fingers for backwards compatibility? Thanks, keep up the good work, be natural, etc. I mean, I'd say buy a PS4 Pro now and play those games.
Yeah, and they've always said that it will be backwards compatible, so we know that. Yeah, you'll get a PS4 Pro with a decent bundle. You've got absolutely tons of stuff to play, and new generations are coming out until autumn 2020. So you'll have tons of great stuff to play, and probably decent bundles out at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, he hasn't mentioned the Xbox, but
yeah, but he said about exclusives. So.
Yeah, I was going to say most of the Xbox exclusives he could be already playing on his PC, I guess. So. Yeah, so if you were going to get a console, I think the PS4 Pro's the way to go. Or a Switch, if that's any interest. I think in terms of exclusives... but then if he's been playing loads of stuff through Steam sales, he's probably played half the indie games that are available on the Switch already anyway, and for a fraction of the cost. So,
but he said about baby sleepy times. I've misconstrued that, and he's got a child. But if that's the case, you're going to get so much more playtime out of the Switch than a console, I would assume.
Yeah, there is that.
So that's another option. But a PS4 Pro and Bloodborne, Zero Dawn, and Red Dead 2, you have a way at a time.
Yep, totally.
Okay, Gary Stewart says, after Bungie and Activision went their separate ways, there have been a few big-name developers leave Bungie. Given how the internet is immediately caused rumours to circulate, for example, after two of the main PvP devs left, everyone said that Destiny was getting rid of Crucible. Do you think that Destiny is doomed, or do you think the devs just got a little fed up working on the same project all this time and left to try something new?
I don't think it...
What do you think, Sean?
I don't think it's doomed by any stretch. I think it's doing just fine. It is weird how they've been neglecting the PvP community. I think I mentioned this not too long ago, but long story short, basically everything they've put out this year has all been PvE focused. And I mean, Gambit is sort of PvP, but like not really. It's got like PvP elements, but like the sort of high end PvP mode that they had in year one, the Trials of the Nine, they just haven't put that, like that's just been taken out with no real explanation. And so people are wondering if this sort of suggests a general move away from PvP, but I don't really know why that would be the case, because presumably it's a lot cheaper to put together because it's just some maps and and modes and stuff, which seems, I would have thought, would be relatively easy compared to like campaign type stuff. And people really love it, and they I don't know, there's like a huge portion of the community. Maybe Bungie have access to figures that I don't, and they know that actually relatively few people bother with the PvP stuff.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now, though, but I'm not sure if it's specifically that. So basically, it's Joe Blackburn, who was former raid lead, who was promoted to broader responsibilities last November, and also narrative lead Jill Shah, who worked on Forsaken. Those were the ones in last week that have gone.
Okay.
And last month, it was weapon specialist John Wezanecki and sandbox design lead Josh Hamrick. So,
okay. Oh, right. So not necessarily PvP.
No, not necessarily PvP, but unless there's some others that have gone. But yeah, there's obviously 4 senior people gone in the last month, which is that's a concern, I guess. I mean, no matter how you play it, that's four senior people gone in a month. That
could
be coincidence, but also it feels like weird. And also like the 2 that announced it last month, they both announced their stuff at exactly the same time.
Right.
It's almost like. So, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Obviously, now they're fully independent. It almost feels like it's a time you'd want to stay, but maybe going fully independent means that they have to maybe a bit more leaner. Who knows?
Yeah, but then I don't know what US employment law's like. You can't just kill someone's salary like that, can you? Without like a full restructure process or whatever. Maybe it's different in America. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Hopefully it's just they felt it was time to move on. But who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I'm excited to see what the next like big, the properly big like fully independent Bungie.
Because we've got
DLC or drop was going to be.
Yeah, because the season of opulence is soon, so that's the third and final bit of this season pass.
That's every day in my house, Sean.
You fucking soda streaming your Sky TV. So then I don't think we're clear on what we're getting after that. If it's going to be like another big expansion or like a year off and then Destiny 3, which I think is basically what happened. I know we had, God, I can't remember what it was called. So Rise of Iron for Destiny 1, and that was okay. But like there was that and then basically a year of nothing and then Destiny 2 happened. So I imagine it's going to be something like that, I guess.
And so I'm in pool right now, probably loving this Destiny chat, but we'll carry on.
Yeah. Every week.
So, do you see Destiny 3 coming, like, basically around 2020, like maybe launching new consoles?
Don't see why not.
It feels really soon, but I guess it isn't.
Yeah, I mean,
it just feels like they get Destiny 2 back on track now. It feels like Destiny 3 already. I don't know.
So I suppose because so Forsaken was the start of so we're still only in year 2 of Destiny 2, aren't we? But then Destiny 1 was only 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
but 2020. Imagine Destiny 3 launch title for PS5. 8K.
Right. Yeah, I'd be on that.
8K, 10-player co-op, incredible AI.
Yeah. Populated cities, people running around.
Imagine, the entire city is just rammed to the gills.
To be fair, if there's a game that could benefit from quicker loading times, Destiny is it. But yeah,
you reckon? Yeah, but you see the ship.
You do see the shit. It's more when you first log in. I don't even know what it's loading at that point, but it takes fucking years. Like it's like I'll set that going and then I'll go and like get a drink or something just because I know it's going to be about
a server authentication, Sean. It's not easy. You got to log in, two-factor authentication.
Which, if that was like a general thing, I wouldn't mind. But it's like once you're in, it's like pretty slick. So it's really strange. Whatever. What's next?
Whatever.
Okay, Liz Walker says, thanks to Sean for suggesting Gems of War as a nice casual game for the mobile. It has all the things I love about Hearthstone, but oddly for a free-to-play game it doesn't push the money side too hard, other than the occasional pop-up of their special offers. Also, this was a while ago, but after hearing Sean musing about how confusing Kingdom Hearts 3 must be for kids, I wanted to share my experience. My nearly 4-year-old was ecstatic to watch me play Kingdom Hearts 3, especially as Toy Story is his favourite film. And it genuinely made me enjoy the game more myself with him cheering me on and yelling at me to get in the robot mummy. I largely agree with everything Sean said, i.e. the combat is largely unchanged from previous games. The cutscenes are overly long and full of the worst anime-esque bullshit at times, but to my son, he honestly didn't seem to care about all the anime dudes in black coats, only really acknowledged them as the bad guys. I suspect to him they are the equivalent of Saturday morning cartoon villains, who don't really need to know much about other than they are the bad guys. This is the first time that my son has properly engaged with video games, so Kingdom Hearts 3 is likely to hold a special place in my memories, despite not being the best entry in the series by a long shot. So my question is, have your kids enhanced any mediocre games for you?
I mean, I'm
that's
at.
going to be for you, isn't it, James?
So, yeah,
James Christian, I think.
My child's only 18 months old, so.
But has your child made you like Dragon's Dogma more or less, Sean?
I mean, that doesn't make any difference, does it? I think he. I mean, other than like I'm enjoying playing it handheld because I haven't always got access to the TV because usually it's got CBeebies on it these days. That's about it.
Come on, James. It must be loads for you.
I'm trying to think because I mean, I remember playing Knack. Yeah, I had to play that with my son for a while because he wanted to play that.
It doesn't sound like you enjoyed it though.
Well, he didn't really enjoy it either after a while, and he got bored, and he said, "Let's play something else." And that was the thing, but because that's the thing. I mean, okay, maybe you see the thing is there are games which I find mediocre or I don't really enjoy very much that we end up playing, like for example Mario Party, which is like it's fine. I quite enjoy playing it sometimes, but if you played it a lot, it gets quite tedious. Yeah. Like sort of to go through. So I've played that many times. That's about it, really, though, to be honest, because I always just force them to play good games. I won't let them play stuff that's like mediocre.
I mean, there's certainly there are games like so. I've been out of the loop with Pokemon for a long time now, but like
that was a mediocre game. I did play through that.
But
with them, actually,
so if Isaac was to get into that when he's older, I can see myself being able to enjoy that again, like via him. Or with him, so that's like a potential one. I can't think of many others though.
I mean, I've locked down all the stuff so they can't play any free to play games. So that's already like closed that avenue off. So I don't know. I can't really think of anything in particular that I've done with that. With
fair enough. You just remember bonding over a game being shit. Yeah, classic. Right.
Yeah, but a bond over a shit game is a weak bond in my book. So, good games on nothing.
There's so much good stuff like to potentially play that it's like I wouldn't want to play something like that's not great. I don't know.
You got such a high, quality, palette, James. It's like anything that's less than an 8, just like forget it.
What was that? The Kirby game on the Switch.
Oh yeah, no that that works. Actually, the more I think about it, there are actually games like that. Kirby was fine, but that was also quite mediocre. Actually,
that's what I mean.
But
I remember because like Dave was saying as well that like Harry properly got into it, and Dave was like, "This isn't really that good," but Harry fucking loved it. Didn't Harry like 100% it or something?
Yeah, I had the same thing. I mean, now it's one of those games that I really would like to sell but cannot because my son will never let me because he still enjoys playing.
There you go.
And there you go. That's one of them. Yeah.
Right, tweets.
Let's go on to tweets. If you want to tweet us, it's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter. The first one is from Thomas at Alarmfly42. What are your personal highlights from the pod so far? This is obviously in reference to the fact this is our 150th episode. For me, it was Matt being rumbled with Night in the Woods. There are so many moments to choose from. Ever considered a best of compilation? I mean, it's at times like this where I'm like, I wish we had a Wikipedia, or at least I wish I had written notes down. Because there's probably loads of things I just can't remember.
It frightens me how little I remember of the podcast. And especially sometimes people will tweet at you with like a joke or something, and I'll look at it and I'll be like, this is a reference to something I've said on the show, and I can't remember.
Yeah.
What it was.
Is this a reference, guys? Yeah. Is this? You said that last week, Sean.
Well, exactly. Like I already people say, "Oh yeah," and Sean was saying this last week, and I'm like, "Did I?" So yeah, pretty terrifying. In personal highlights, God knows. Definitely that Night in the Woods bit was pretty incredible. But I honestly don't remember a lot of it.
I think my recent highlight has been being able to start recording at 8 o'clock. I mean, that's been,
it's been good.
That's been a personal highlight for me.
Yeah, it has been great. Yeah. I'm going to miss it.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss it. We have to go back to 9 o'clock. Anyway, I mean, what have you got any highlights, James?
Not really. What I'm trying to think. Actually,
okay. Well, what are you thinking? I mean, us destroying Titanfall 2 and getting out in the first round of that Game of the Year show.
Yeah.
After David went on about it for like 7 or 8 episodes in a row, that was incredibly satisfying. I mean, there are so many like great moments that I remember, mostly from the Game of the Year shows.
I was going to say, yeah,
I just remembered one. I remember. What I did like was when we did that E3 one where David wasn't allowed to listen. He wasn't allowed to watch anything. And then we told him about Perfect Dark and he bought the whole thing. And then he was really angry with us that we hadn't revealed to him. Like,
but hadn't revealed
by
it on
the end
the
of
pod.
the show that it wasn't true. Yeah, and then he got really annoyed about that. That was fun.
I mean, like, I guess maybe we've done it again. Maybe it would be better to reveal it on the pod. But it's also great because we were like, "Oh my god, let's just not tell him." And then we're just like waiting for him to listen to the pod the next day, and then like twig, like, "Hang on, what?" It was all worth it for us, but it was selfish. The listeners didn't get to hear that moment. But it was great.
No,
for
but
us.
it was also worth it to have Dave continuously dig us out about how we'd made the wrong decision.
You've ruined the pod.
You ruined it.
I mean, the F-Zero Night Run stuff was pretty amazing.
So good.
But yeah, the Far Lone Sales stuff from the Game of the Year show as well. Like, it's just really nice because like even now we still get the odd tweet from someone who's like just picked it up, and like they because it stuck out because there was a bit of a story because like the way it came out on the show and stuff. Like people remember that it was us that told them to play it, and that's really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's someone like you just dropping a game which none of us have heard you mention all year. It was in your list, and then we all played it and loved it. It was a really nice little story.
Yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, killing Titanfall was one of the best moments, of course. The Night in the Woods moment. I mean, I've listened to it back a few times. It's an incredible moment. You can hear. I mean, I totally got done. I got found out.
It wasn't so much about you getting got. It was the fact that it was James that took it upon himself to do the research. I don't know. That just totally took me by surprise. But
I still need to get that game finished.
It's really good.
But I lost my
really
save.
good.
So.
Really good game.
Yeah, I have to start again. Yeah. But that was a great moment. I mean, like I still think all that Detroit discussion was good, mostly because I was really impassionate about it and no one else was. I'm sure there's loads of moments, but my memory's so bad, so I should start writing some stuff down.
Yep.
Anyway, that's Thomas almost wants you to do FIFA as well. It says FIFA for Sean, please. He's enjoying himself way too much on the streams whilst his colleagues suffer on theirs.
Yeah, the net is definitely closing in on that. Although interestingly, I've mentioned before, there's like a the Journey pack that you can buy, and it was on sale for like 25 quid or something, and I missed that. So it's no longer on sale. I didn't realise it's not like a special version of the game that just has all of the Journey in it. It is just FIFA's 17 to 19 in one bundle. So,
was it? I thought it was just...
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's still the best option. I need to just wait till that's on sale again because I was hoping I could play it on the PC and stream it because I can get it through like Origin access.
Yeah.
But having tried Forza Horizon 4 and it not working at all, I assume FIFA's going to be no better. So
I don't know. Like, I don't think FIFA's as intensive. I mean, like Forza's one of the best looking racing games in recent years.
True. Yeah, I'll give it a go. I can always just like do a test recording and see how that behaves, and then we'll go from there, I guess. But all right. I don't know.
That's what happened. Also, I've got loads of ideas of what we could do to promote it, and I've got to. There's things I need to do.
Yeah.
Tom Bailey at Trend Thrift on Twitter. The Assassin's Creed 3 remaster is the buggiest game I've ever played, including full-on console lockups on occasion. And yet I'm still ploughing on having a whale of a time. What's the most frustrating game you couldn't get enough of?
Tom Bailey. That's even people who like Assassin's Creed generally take the piss out of 3, don't they?
Yeah.
And this is a terrible remaster, and he's still all right. Fair enough.
But it's still clearly got something.
Yeah. I mean, what?
I'd have to say Daggerfall. Like,
yeah,
you know Daggerfall, yeah. That I absolutely loved that game when it came out. I remember playing it on PC, and it was a nightmare. There was it was probably the most buggy game that I think Bethesda ever put out, and that's saying something.
That really is.
It was crashed all the time, but I still kept playing it and just loved it.
I mean, Dragon's Dogma is not buggy, but it's certainly not as slick as it could be. And even at the time. But it's and as I mentioned, like in terms of frustration, you can go for a half-hour trek and then die unexpectedly and lose a fair bit of progress. But it's for me, it's the ideas behind it that make up for that. So that makes it worthwhile for me, I guess.
I mean, it's not buggy, but like the first year or two of Destiny was pretty tough. I mean, I've said this before, but there was 6 weeks where I couldn't go up a level because I was waiting for one particular chess piece. 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
it was bad times, but again, nothing could stop me playing that game.
Like, I think if we'd known how much Destiny 1 was going to improve, I don't think we would have bothered with year 1. I think...
I don't know, but it's just... and it's arguably still got that great gameplay loop. I don't know, it was frustrating, but it was like, I was still smashing strikes every night. And
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I feel like we only put up with it because we were like, well, this is it. This is the only way we're going to experience this gunplay and stuff. Yeah. Whereas I think if someone had just said, honestly, mate, just give it a year, you will love it so much more.
I often think if Destiny 1 came out today, I mean, it feels like it would just get destroyed. I mean, maybe it's not the case, but it's like, obviously, so many games are all about quality of life improvements and making things easier and stuff. And like Destiny 1 was not.
James, do you want to tell us all what you're laughing at?
Sorry. Oh, just...
Come on, James.
I mean, I'm asking him because I know the answer, but I want him to tell us if he's going to be so unprofessional.
James.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
I mean, can we explain without it getting to... You've muted your microphone, haven't you? He has. That's why the laughter...
We're going to have to explain.
I had to mute myself. No, it's just a picture which David shared with us today, and every time I see it, I can't stop laughing. Oh dear!
It's like when a child's crying and they're trying to explain why they're upset, and they're just like,
oh dear!
Dave sent us
The trouble is I keep making myself laugh by looking at it, and I know
it sounds like I'm crying.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay,
but
I've got it under control. I just won't open it again.
Fine.
I open it once more now. Go on, I just want to see what the reaction.
No, I'm not doing it.
Just open it once more now.
Continue. I'm fine. I've got over it. It's fine.
Now I'm looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to open now as well. Go on, open it once more, James.
Right.
Go on.
What is the next question?
Andre Gushwend, what is the one thing James wants from Animal Crossing on Switch besides a release date?
I would definitely like there to be better, like, online of some description. I don't know what that would mean at this stage, but something which is better than they've had before. I'll tell you what I don't want. I don't want it to be linked in with the, like, Pocket Camp one or anything at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to need, like...
How likely do you think that is?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they do somehow. I mean, I'm also hoping that they're not going to add like a load of like tasks and things like that to it, because the thing I've always enjoyed about these games is the fact that you kind of just kick around and do whatever you feel like. I don't want it to be like super focused at all.
Yeah, because you even thought there's too much busy work in Stardew, and that's nothing compared to Portia, both of which are brilliant fun.
And that's one of the reasons I haven't really gone. But stop doing that! Stop doing that!
So what's happened?
I've put the picture in the Google Doc.
Oh, this is...
Okay, you can't do it. Okay, let's go. Okay, go on, just continue. Like, I just got over that. Just stop it. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, I can. Well, I mean, I love Animal Crossing on GameCube, and I'm excited to see what it's like on Switch. But I also love things like Stardew and Portia, which are a bit more in depth. So, have they said is it coming this year? Have they said that at least?
They said it's supposed to be 2019.
Okay. 2019. Okay.
I'm just worried it might suddenly appear again at any moment, and it's.
Oh, fucking hell. Right, what's the next question, man?
Yes. Rect Reese again. What are the best or worst licensed video games based on movies? I'm going with best Alien Isolation and worst any Harry Potter.
Best.
They're not as common these days, are they? Really, licensed games?
No, they're not. I think because people generally agree that they're not a brilliant idea, or at least doing it in a way that tries to recreate the bits in the film. At the end of the day, you're taking a linear experience into an interactive medium, and
because we're still waiting for Crystal Dynamics. Dynamics' Avengers game, aren't we?
Yeah, that's still in the works.
That's still happening
which
at some point.
Feels somewhat like it might have missed the boat by this point. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like,
I can't believe they haven't released it around now.
Yeah, that would have been ideal.
But Avengers is such a big franchise. If it comes out later in the year or next year, it'll obviously still do well. But it's just crazy that haven't coincided with the movie.
Yeah. Bit strange, and we haven't seen anything of it, have we?
No, nothing. Yeah, no.
So presumably it's still relatively early on in development. So don't know what's going on there.
It is one of the best. Has surely got to be GoldenEye on the N64.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
that's just such a great game.
Aged well, but in terms
no,
of...
I'm sure we play it today. It'll be absolutely dreadful. But at the time, I was like, this is a good licensed game.
Yeah, and was quite a revelation in that sense, and broke the rules in that it did follow a lot of the events of the film quite closely and worked. So that was okay.
Worst. We have such a selection to choose from. Well, where do we even begin?
It's hard to know where to start, really. There's been loads of shiters.
There was mostly loads of really bad ones during the 8-bit era as well, wasn't there? When LJN and all that had those licenses for all those terrible games.
Which presumably made them a lot of money, so fair dues. I don't know. I haven't got any particularly interesting answers for this, to be honest. It's all just standard shit, isn't it?
Anything, James?
Nothing bad. I mean, there was good stuff. There was what's it called? Chronicles of Riddick. That was great.
Well, what sort of game was that? I remember at the time, reviewing really well and stuff. But what sort of game was it?
It was first person, wasn't it? And it was like you were trapped on the prison. It was basically like a prison escape kind of game.
Yeah, so it's first person, and then it sort of went to third person for certain actions and stuff, didn't it? I think.
Yeah.
But it had this whole sort of really, really keen on stealth mechanics. But as you say, the initial sort of prison break bit, it was just about you living in the prison and interacting with the other inmates and stuff, and trying to break out. And then there was that, and then there was, what was it, Assault on Dark Athena, the second one they did. Which apparently was really good as well. And I played the first one a bit, and I don't know, bounced off it for some reason, despite the fact that it was clearly quite interesting. But again, that was an example of one that's set around the films, wasn't it, rather than actually following the plot. So, yeah.
Because it was Starbreeze as well, wasn't it?
It was,
had all the trouble recently.
Yeah.
I mean, would you class the Batman Arkham games? Those are licensed. They're not film licensed, but there's a Batman license, isn't it? I mean,
but again, because the difference with comic books, I mean, I know films are getting this way now because they're ripping off comic books so much, but if you decide to do a Batman game, because there are so many iterations of Batman, there's so many versions of him, you pretty much just do your own and borrow the bits you want from existing Batmans. Whereas if you're doing a game version of a film, you don't just get to remake the main character as you see fit. You pretty much have to stick to what already exists. Whereas because there's already so many different Batmen, you can sort of do what you want with it, relatively speaking.
There's lots of Batmen.
There are lots of Batmans. But that's partly why that game was so good, because it borrowed a lot of the best bits, but really gave you a sense of being Batman. The first time you go into the cave and stuff underneath Arkham, that was fucking amazing. So yeah. No, I've got nothing else for this one.
Yeah, actually, there's the Middle Earth, what are those Middle Earth Mordor games?
Oh, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow
the first
of War.
One.
Yeah.
The first one was good, and the second one was less good because of microtransactions.
It took them out, though, didn't they, eventually?
They did, yeah. But then it kind of broke the game, from what I heard, because it's designed around that, and then,
That's going to be like the new Animal Crossing, James, when they take out all the microtransactions from that, and there'll be no game left.
Oh, man. You have Leaf tickets.
Get us Leaf tickets. Last one is from last week, actually, but Oodles Odim. What upcoming game can you see you playing hundreds of hours of?
Well, Animal Crossing, obviously.
Oh, God.
Hundreds of hours, James?
Hundreds of hours.
Definitely. I spent about 300 hours playing Lightning
Really?
Leaf.
Wow, okay.
Fuck.
Yeah.
God, I don't know. What's coming out this year? Oh, what's that? I mean, not hundreds of hours, but the what's it called? The RPG that's in space and it's all a bit Wild West. Are you looking at that picture again?
No,
James,
fuck's sake, man.
James.
Sorry, I just thought about it.
He didn't even have to look at it anymore. He just has to remember it. That's all it takes.
What's this RPG in space?
What was it? Is it called The Outer Worlds? It's by some.
Oh yeah, the one that's all Fallout.
Yeah. I think that's the only one on the horizon that I'm looking forward to putting a significant amount of time into. Maybe not hundreds of hours. I suppose there's the Monster Hunter World DLC is later this year. Again, it won't be hundreds of hours, but I'd be, very, very happy to have an excuse to go back to that. So, yeah, I guess that's it for me. I don't really know what else is coming out that's going to really take up shitloads of time.
Yeah, it's hard to say, actually. I mean, I'm also looking forward to Animal Crossing. I don't know if it'll be hundreds of hours, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, most of the games I look forward to this year, they're not massive 100-hour plus games.
Yeah, exactly. I think, we don't really, none of us are into stuff like that, are we?
I mean, it's just Destiny. That's surely it. I mean, I can't really think of anything else.
I could see myself continuing to put
maybe
hundreds of hours into
the way
Destiny.
I am, maybe in my time at Portia. I mean, done 20 hours pretty quickly. That is it for tweets. It's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter if you want to tweet us, and that's it.
Cool. Right, we can go, and James can look at that picture all he wants now. He's muted his microphone again.
James.
I did, I muted it for a while because.
But yeah,
I thought it was for the best.
2 hours, lads, relatively short as promised. But still, actually, no, we're all right on Dash Radio now, aren't we? We're fine. We're allowed 2.5.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah. So if you listen on Dash Radio, enjoy 20 minutes of what is it they play? Just like music and trailers and stuff.
Yeah, I assume it's just other ambience.
Yeah, well, enjoy that, and we will see you next week. Thank you for letting us be natural. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened. I just couldn't. Yeah, it was terrible.